You're watching Backstop TV. Today is Thursday, November 6th, 2025. We are live from the Backstop Ultra Dome.
The Backstop Arena.
Yes.
We have our own backstop right here.
Backstops.
Look at this. This is how it works.
It's the infinite money glitch.
Just do it. Just do it. Ask for it.
If you're skiing like this and
Don't.
you're over your skis.
If you get over your skis,
just use the infinite money glitch to get out of jail free.
That's
and
right.
Backstop yourself.
That's right. Doesn't hurt to ask.
Now, wild time on the timeline yesterday with comments from OpenAI's finance chief, Sarah Friar. She was at a Wall Street Journal event on Wednesday, and she put
the timeline in turmoil.
She did put the timeline in turmoil. The headline from the Wall Street Journal was OpenAI wants federal backstop for new investments. It was a crazy thing. She wound up clarifying it. Let's play the actual Sarah Friar interview at that Wall Street Journal event so we can just set the table and hear what she actually said. Wall Street Journal, let's go. This is a nice event. Looks like it's
OpenAI, at our core, are the model company that needs always to be the state of the art. That's what we've done time and time again. GPT-5 is no exception. But even in areas like open source, we're attempting to put the state-of-the-art model always out into the world. And in order to do that, we always want to be on the frontier chip. So the question is, how long does a chip remain on the frontier? Is it 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, or even longer? Now, in a world where we have no compute, or we're compute constrained, we are absolutely using chips that are like A100 equivalents that have been around like maybe 6, 7 years at this point in time. If that's the case, financing chips gets a lot easier. If the timeline on the chip stays short, that gets harder. And so this is where we're looking for an ecosystem of banks, private equity, maybe even governmental, the ways governments can come to bear.
Meaning like a federal subsidy or something?
Meaning like just, first of all, the backstop, the guarantee that allows the financing
It's like a ton of bricks.
That can really drop the cost of the financing, but also increase the loan to value, so the amount of debt that you can take on top of an equity portion for
so some federal backstop for chip investment.
Exactly. And I think we're seeing that. I think the US government in particular has been incredibly forward-leaning, has really understood that AI is almost a national strategic asset, and that we really need to be thoughtful when we think about competition with, for example, China. Are we doing all the right things to grow our AI ecosystem?
We're in a global erotica race.
Are you talking to the White House about how to further formalize that kind of backstop?
We're always being brought in by the White House to give our point of view as an expert on what's happening in the sector, for sure.
Should we, is there something in the
This
works
is so funny.
that's tangible?
Any announcements?
No, I love you, Sarah, but nothing to announce. Nothing that's going on right now.
If you wanted to, we're here to listen.
Yeah, wild. She wound up clarifying her comments on LinkedIn.
Elsewhere, the same interview, she did say the market is not exuberant enough.
Yeah. In the same interview.
Yes.
Yeah. And she also said that they're not working towards an IPO yet. There were a whole bunch of scoops that came out of this particular event. And
Ben just texted TBPN, the Backstop Programming Network.
The Backstop Programming Network. So on LinkedIn, Sarah Friar said she wasn't asking for a backstop for OpenAI's investments. She was just making the point that American strength and technology will come from building real industrial capacity, which requires the private sector and government playing their part. Before we move on, let me tell you about ramp.com. Time is money, save both. Easy to use corporate cards, bill payments, and accounting, and a whole lot more. So, obviously, OpenAI is so dominant in the zeitgeist that every comment, every sentence uttered by an OpenAI executive will be analyzed to death. It's one of my favorite things to do. So that's exactly what we're going to do on this show. We're also going to be restreaming it. One live stream, 30+ destinations, multi-stream, reach your audience wherever they are. So the big question here is, should a federal backstop exist for large-scale industrial projects? Like when there's a lot of money floating around in the economy, should the government be ready to step in if things don't line up, if things don't pencil out? And I would argue that one already exists, and that's what Sarah was referring to. And so Sam Altman actually touched on a similar concept in his conversation with Tyler Cowen that was recorded, I think, a few days ago, but also went live yesterday, which is just sort of crazy timing. But basically, Tyler is talking about nuclear energy projects and how the government interfaces with them. And then Sam gives an answer that I think is a little bit more illuminating in this whole backstop of the AI build-out. So I'd love to play the clip of Sam Altman talking to Tyler Cowen.
Here's a very difficult question. As you know, both you and I were fans of nuclear power, but we also know the insurance for nuclear power plants is provided by the government. The plants might be quite safe, but people worry, they're nervous Nellies, there's a lot of parties involved, so the federal government does the insurance. Do you worry that the future holds the same for AI companies, where the feds are your insurer? And how do you plan for that? Again, even if AI is pretty safe, as with nuclear power, people are nervous Nellies.
This is fascinating because it's...
How will you insure everything?
It's not necessarily a question about the financing, but it winds up being one about it.
Like at some level, when something gets sufficiently huge, whether or not they are on paper, the federal government is kind of the insurer of last resort, as we've seen in various financial crises and insurance companies screwing things up. So I guess, given the magnitude of what I expect AI economic impact to look like, sort of, I do think the government ends up as like the insurer of last resort, but I think I mean that in a different way than you mean that, and I don't expect them to actually be like writing the policies in the way that maybe they do for nuclear.
And there's a big difference between the government being the insurer of last resort and the insurer of first resort. Last resort's inevitable, but I'm worried they'll become the insurer of first resort, and that I don't want.
I don't want that either. I don't think that's what will happen.
What we're seeing with Intel, lithium, rare earths, is the government is becoming an equity holder. Again, not of last resort, but of second or third resort. And I don't mean this as a comment about the Trump administration. I think this is something we might be seeing in any case or see in the future after Trump is gone. But how do you plan for OpenAI knowing that's now a thing on the table in the American economy?
I put almost no probability on mass onto the world where no one has any meaning in the post-AGI world because the AI is doing everything. Like, I think we're really great at finding new things to do, new games to play, new ways to be useful to each other, to compete, to get fulfilled, whatever. But I do put a significant probability that the social contract has to change significantly. I don't know what that will look like.
Yeah, and so he kind of moves past the original backstop question. We can move on from this, but
I also think let me give some more context here because a lot of the dialogue on the timeline started to center around this quote that we just played around the backstop. But earlier, in that same day, that same interview, OpenAI CFO Sarah Fryer suggested the market is overly focused on anxiety about a possible bubble in artificial intelligence and should muster more exuberance about the technology's potential. Quote, I don't think there's enough exuberance about AI when I think about the actual practical implications and what it can do for individuals. We should keep running at it. And so she also said, we're all just building out full infrastructure today that allows for more compute to come into the world. I don't view it as circular at all. A huge body of work in the last year has been to diversify that supply chain.
That's for sure true.
So yeah, that part is true. But again, going
supply
from
chain is potentially too diverse if you're in the supply chain because you're like I have a ton of competitors.
Yeah, and part of this is like you have to put this in the context of the last week. Friday, everyone saw the interview with Sam and Brad. Brad asks a very simple question that's on everyone's minds. Sam basically doesn't answer the question.
It just kind of says like we're going to pay with revenue. We're going to hit our revenue milestones.
Sure.
There's a whole bunch of different projects that are.
But
in
you
the work.
Put that, but nobody
pencil out.
Nobody heard his response and thought, okay, I'm confident now.
Totally.
It did not inspire confidence.
Yep.
And so to go into that and then say in this interview, the market is not exuberant enough, and also, she can go on LinkedIn and her response. I want to clarify my comments earlier today. OpenAI is not seeking government backstop for our infrastructure commitments. I used the word backstop and it muddied the point. As the full clip of my answer shows, blah, 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 blah. So she can go out and say that she takes it back or that she didn't mean it to come across in the way that it did.
Yeah.
But she, very clearly, in the moment, agreed with the interviewer's point.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like it is true that there is a government backstop. Whenever there's $1 trillion of spend going on, there is a de facto backstop. Like this happened in 2008. There was a global financial crisis. Banks were leveraged on housing. The government came in and acted as the lender of last resort. Tons of people hated this, and it created Occupy Wall Street. People argued that it should not have happened. But economists would say that the alternative was worse because the economy would just continue to spiral. You would see more and more bank failures.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, it was the rational thing to do. Now the problem is that if you are identifying the backstop before you get into trouble, it creates this moral hazard, and that's why people were so upset with Wall Street, because if you go into it being like,
the main thing is
well,
going out and announcing
we're too big to fail, right?
announcing $1 trillion plus of spending, obviously some on balance sheet, some off balance sheet partners.
Yep.
And then going out and not being able to answer the question convincingly on how you pull it off, and then a few days later saying the market's not exuberant enough, we think it would make sense for the government to get involved in some capacity. When you're building functionally, elsewhere in the interview, she talked about monetizing commerce, monetizing discovering products, monetizing the transaction. And so to be going out and suggesting something like that when you're building like OpenAI today, yes, it's a national lab. Yes, it's strategic to the United States that OpenAI is being built here. But ultimately, you're building a company that's just going to compete with Google and Amazon and a variety of other companies, right?
Yeah, and I would include those in the backstop. Like if Google overinvests, or if Google, is doing a training run on a variety of neo clouds and they get over leveraged, and there's, like the buck might not stop with one. There's a world where there's an overbuild, and the people that get caught is some sort of like real estate investment trust or some sort of aggregator of private credit, or some sort of senior debtor on some data center project, and that it doesn't really affect the big clouds. But I actually don't see a problem with the government behaving like it always has. I don't have a problem with that. I'm fine with a backstop, and I wouldn't change anything about the way the government works. And I'm serious about that. I'm not joking, because I think that the alternative is actually worse. I think the alternative, if you go back to 2008 and you say, okay, let's not bail out the banks, I think that you just extend the recession.
Yeah. But if in 2005, the banks were saying, and various players were saying, we're going to do a bunch of super risky lending that we're not sure is going to pencil out, and we just want to know that if things get really bad, you'll be there to bail us out, but we're going to make a ton of money in the process.
Yes, there is.
How would you feel about that?
There is the problem of it. So my conclusion in my post today was America has a playbook for backstops. I don't think Sarah Fryer or anyone at OpenAI is asking to rewrite the playbook, but there's something that feels very moral hazardy about the CFO of the most important company at the center of a massive economic wave, sort of telling everyone how the magic trick works. Like why people are latching onto this, I think, is not so much the idea that if there's an economic boom and bust cycle and the government steps in at some point, like that's not that big of a problem, but it is a problem if you say, I'm openly acknowledging the way the system works and I'm going to push it to the limit. That's a little bit rough. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, the A/B test of, like, 2008, you can kind of say is, like, Great Depression, where there's this big critique where, people were basically mad that there wasn't stimulus earlier.
Totally.
And then basically by not doing stimulus, you drag out the Depression, like, way longer than it should have.
Totally. Yep. I mean, it was the foundation of the Keynesian economic model, like this idea that, it is actually advantageous to spend. Don't get me wrong. There are tons of people who would say, like, don't do it.
I'm not against government-backed infrastructure spending.
That's not what that is. That's not what this is. That's a separate thing.
I know it's a separate thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, if the government was saying we're effectively gonna guarantee that a bunch of infrastructure can be built, roads, bridges.
So I actually like the hey, we're a backstop. I like the backstop more than we're going to try and pick a winner and do a specific project. The specific project, that's how we got Solyndra. So like Solyndra was backstopped. It was this solar project. It was energy infrastructure. We wanted to build out clean energy in America, and I think of the Obama administration basically gave loans to this company, and the tech just didn't work out. And so the taxpayer just got a write-off, or not a write-off, but the debt didn't work. and didn't get paid back. And so there was just like a loss. That technology never worked. The company went bankrupt, and it was a big like egg on the face moment. Obviously, it's not going to bankrupt America because it's just one company, it's just one small project. But it was still like, why did we spend, I think, hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever it was on this like moonshot technology? Like, shouldn't the private markets be the ones allocating capital around that? That's very different than if there's a systemic problem in the economy, stepping in to just lower the interest rates. Like, look at what was the backstop in .com? Do you know what they did as a result of .com?
No.
Like, they didn't go in and say, oh, you're in pets.com, we're making you whole.
Yeah.
What they did was they said, there's a recession right now. We need to lower interest rates. We need to cut taxes a little bit. We need to just stimulate the economy just a little bit to get back on our feet and just start up the economic engine.
Yeah.
And so they did tax cuts and lower interest rates. And that is a backstop. And I'm fine with that. I think that's fine. Like if the AI bubble pops and the end result is that we get lower interest rates and some tax cuts and like just, hey, let's speed up the economy.
I think that's
very different.
Very different than various players wanting to develop data centers and lenders feeling uncomfortable about not having clarity on, are these chips going to be worth anything in 6 years? Are they going to be worth anything in 5 years? Are they going to be useless after a few years? Right? It's like
but that's on the lender. Like the lender can do the analysis.
No,
right?
and when I hear these comments from Sarah Fryer, what I'm hearing is we have a bunch of lenders that would happily finance this if there's a government guarantee that they won't lose money. And that's very different.
Yeah, that is odd. I don't know.
So if you get some type of setup where the government does come in and say, not just for OpenAI, but for a variety of these players, like, we will provide a backstop.
Yeah.
The lenders start to feel comfortable. They start to lend. What's the lender's incentive? If a lender makes money when they lend money and they have some type of structure where they can't lose money, what are they going to do?
That's
They're going to lend as much money as they possibly can.
Of course.
And OpenAI will take as much money. They will take everybody involved. The lenders will lend as much money. OpenAI will take as much money as they possibly can, or benefit as much as they can from it. And ultimately, I just think it's. I'm not against, looking back through, 07, 08 and the example you gave around, post.com crash. I'm not against government intervention during a crisis.
Totally.
But using the government to create what will ultimately just be an even greater crisis and ultimately just socializing the losses from all of this. And, I think...
It doesn't always plan out that way, though.
Yeah.
Tesla, government backstop, right? Gave loans. Paid back the loans. Tesla paid back the loans with interest. The taxpayer made money on that. And anyone who says, oh, Elon only, he's just the government pays for everything, it's like they're wrong.
Yeah.
Like, the government made investment in Tesla and they got back money with interest. And so the government participating in private markets, it doesn't always end poorly. It's a little weird. And I think that if you go to the Tyler Cowen clip, like Sam is not asking for the government to take a position. He's like, I don't want to be Intel. I don't want them on my cap table. I don't want any of that. It's like,
sure.
So honestly, I don't know what they're asking for, because it is a crazy piece of comms to say, to even talk about it in the current zeitgeist, because it makes it feel like, oh, well, why are we talking about like how to deal with a crisis? Like, do you think there's a crisis coming? Like, that's stressful.
Yeah.
Right.
And the general public already hates AI enough. Figuring out a structure that allows potentially socializing the downside is gonna, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would expect that something like this does happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's why David Sachs came out and said, like, there will be no federal bailout for AI. The U.S. has at least 5 major frontier model companies. If one fails, others will take its place. It's also, that's a crazy quote too, because it's like no one was talking about a failure of a big foundation model lab.
Yeah, and this is so if OpenAI, if we were in if the AI race looked more clearly like AI, China designing AI weapons, And OpenAI is purely a defense tech player that is also developing AI weapons.
Sure.
And in order to be competitive, in order to not have the CCP, take full control over the world with their sort of dark superintelligence, we needed a national champion, national lab.
Yep.
We needed to give them as much infrastructure, as much energy, all these things. That scenario, I'd be looking at this a lot differently.
Yep.
OpenAI is, in my view, I've been saying this for at least a month now, I just view them as a large tech company, right? They want to make money from subscriptions. They want to make money from ads. They want to make money from commerce. They have a social media app. They have an erotica product.
I don't have a product yet. Have not launched that.
Okay, well, I'm sure they've announced the launch of it, right? And people have used it in that way in the past.
Yes.
And so I don't understand the, we need $1 trillion or
I don't think I think literally me, you, Sarah Fryer, David Sachs, we're all in agreement here that no one's saying OpenAI gets a bailout if the company doesn't do well. But no one's saying that.
But a bailout is different than a bailout is different. I think it's important to break these out. A bailout is like, in my view, is like OpenAI is going to default.
Yeah.
And they need a capital injection.
Yeah.
In order to stay solvent.
Yeah,
the government
no
comes
one's
in.
talking about that.
No one's talking about that. And David Sachs was clear, we're not going to have a bailout, but a backstop of loans that labs and players, like that seems to, I would expect that to happen.
What do you mean?
I expect some type of backstop scenario to like, despite me being
out?
here, play out.
Really? You think that there's going to be like major defaults across the...
No. I'm saying the backstop, I'm not saying the major default piece. I'm saying I expect a program that
special program,
some type of program like
those usually only get set up if there's a crisis, like like TARP, like the Trouble Asset Relief Program in 2000.
Yeah, but there's other there's other programs like
usually you don't
in housing.
Set up the price until there's a crisis.
Okay, but look at housing. There's programs to help people buy homes that are government guaranteed, so that look at the SBA loan program, right?
Everyone needs a slice of the top tranche of data center debt.
Yeah, so why do banks lend to small businesses through the SBA program?
Yeah, of course, stimulate the economy.
Yeah, and it's backed. It's backed by the U.S. government.
Yeah, and just like it's what taxpayers want. Like you want to be able to deduct your mortgage. The American dream, the social contract is that you can buy a house. And so if we can incentivize or make it easier for people to buy houses, that's a good thing. That's what everyone wants. And so everyone kind of socializes the risk of mortgage losses by creating these government-backed loans. The question is, I guess the bigger question is like, should America vote for actually socializing the losses of the AI build out? Like if you don't like AI, then you're like, no, there's no point. But if you think it's like the railroad, or you think it's like the internet infrastructure build out, or you think it's like the computing revolution, then you should be all in on that. You should be thumbs up on like, yes, put the weight of the US government behind this project.
Yeah, and I just think there's no public appetite for this. Look at the state of the average American.
I think you're right.
They can't afford a home. They can't even afford McDonald's.
Yeah.
And they're scared of losing.
But are they right?
They're scared of getting. They're already worried. I might get a job and then I might lose it to AI.
Yep.
And you have people working in AI that are already talking about job displacement. We had a VC on our show very recently who was saying, talking about what a large opportunity investing in AI is because this is labor displacement.
We have some breaking news. Sama has tweeted addressing the backstop. First, before we read that, let me tell you about Privy, wallet infrastructure for every bank. Privy makes it easy to build on crypto rails, securely spin up white label wallets, sign transactions, and integrate on-chain infrastructure, all through one simple API. Let's go to Sam Altman, his post. I would like to clarify a few things. been a lot of clarifying lately. I feel like I've read this post before. There was
I
a clarification
appreciated
post
Gavin,
on the
Gavin,
erotica thing.
Gavin
There's a few
Baker
of these.
posted earlier, we need a moratorium on OpenAI public appearances and press releases and to
No.
stabilize the market.
No, what are you doing, Gavin? Okay, Gavin has to come on the show. If OpenAI people won't come on the show anymore. Okay, let's read through the Sam Altman post. I would like to clarify a few things. First, the obvious one, we do not have or want government guarantees for OpenAI data centers. We believe that governments should not pick winners or losers and that taxpayers should not bail out companies that make bad business decisions or otherwise lose in the market. If one company fails, other companies will do good work. What we do think might make sense is government building and owning their own AI infrastructure.
Go code.
And then the upside of that should flow to the government as well. We can imagine a world where governments decide to offtake a lot of computing power and get to decide how to use it, and it may make sense to provide lower cost of capital to do so. Building a strategic national reserve of computing power makes a lot of sense. This is if you believe in the lore of AI 2027, this is trust the plan. Tyler, can you get me up to speed on what AI 2027 predicted on the nationalization?
I think this is actually more situational awareness than
Okay.
AGI 2027.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically Leopold says we're going to have the project.
The project.
The project is basically nationalization of the big labs.
Yeah.
All the big build-outs are basically on the government's like cap table or essentially.
Yeah.
And it's basically because we see China's basically doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They start doing it. And then we need to retaliate.
And we want to do it. Yeah, Jensen Huang was in the Financial Times talking about the China will win AI race with America, says NVIDIA chief. We can go through that in a minute, but let's keep reading.
He's like, China's going to win the AI race. We need to sell them as many chips as we possibly can right now. Please. They're going to win if we don't give them even more chips.
Remarkable moment.
Obviously, his position is that we want to get China dependent on American AI infrastructure so that we can pull it back at any time. But saying they're about to win the AI race when he's also advocating for selling them as many chips as they can produce doesn't really sit that. Well.
I'm honestly
the other thing is like how it, let's talk about we need to better define what the AI race is.
Yeah.
Like Gurley earlier this year, I think made some good points. Like, what is the AI race? What is it? How does one win? What does that look like?
Yeah.
What does it look like in the near term?
If you're AGI Pill, it's the race to a super intelligence, a system that can do any economic work. So you can tell it, go fight this lawsuit and it'll do that. You can say, go buy this company. It'll just buy that company. Create a roll-up in the pharmaceutical industry. It'll
and
just
the reason that people don't take that narrative super seriously right now is that companies like OpenAI make short-form social media apps.
Yep. People aren't feeling acceleration. They're not feeling the acceleration. They're not feeling the acceleration.
And
that's correct.
When you're out there saying, yeah, we want to basically be Google search. We have our own YouTube.
And then you have multiple experts kind of talking about how they're not feeling the acceleration. You have Andre Karpathy and a number of other folks coming on and saying like, yeah, I think it might be more like a decade. I don't really know if it's going to be this like fast takeoff. Well, then the question is, if we're not getting 10x the results, do we need to be spending 10x as much next year? Maybe some of those exponential curves should be sigmoids. We will find out.
Okay, so keep reading.
Okay, so what we do think might make sense is the government building their own AI infrastructure. The project is going to happen. Building a strategic national reserve of computing power makes a lot of sense, but this should be for the government's benefit, not the benefit of private companies. The one area where we have discussed loan guarantees is as part of supporting the build out of semiconductor fabs in the United States. So like, I completely agree with this. Maybe it's a crazy hot take. Brandon was saying I'm going to get canceled for being I'm pro build out, pro backstop, pro bailout. I'm pro all of it when it comes to building semiconductor fabs in the United States.
I'll say, well, I've been a bit more negative. I'm pro build out. I think the power side is an area that could make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
That could benefit the average American a lot more.
Yeah.
Which is like, hey, the government is going to help finance bringing a lot more power online. And and we're going to be able to stay at the leading edge in AI, lead in AI, and your power bill. We're actually going to make your power bill cheaper over time. That's something that people could get behind, but federal backstop so you can get more videos of your cat dressed up like a doctor. I don't think people are going to be on board with that.
It's tough.
Let's keep reading this and then give a proper reaction.
Yeah.
So I guess
before we move on, let me tell you about Cognition, the makers of Devin. Devin's the AI software engineer. Crush your backlog with your personal AI engineering team. Do you want me to continue?
So real quick on this concept of the government building and owning their own AI infrastructure.
Yeah.
So this concept has existed for a very long time in defense, where there's things called GOCOs, which are government-owned, contractor-operated. So this model is popular in weapons manufacturing, where the government will own land, and they'll own a facility, and then a contractor will actually basically run the facility, produce and sell the finished product to the government. But that is like worked fine over time. And so there's some precedent here for that. I think it's very unclear to me how building just a national reserve of computing power makes a lot of sense. But,
I don't know. I could do a crazy steel man on it, but
of course you can.
I can steel man anything. But yeah, let's stick to the semiconductor fabs, because that's where Sam is saying that he's actually advocating loan guarantees for semiconductor fabs. This is 7 layers away from his actual core business. You should. It is. It's like he's not. I mean, maybe he will build a fab, but realistically, it's like he's going to have a partnership with NVIDIA, who's going to have a partnership with Intel, and Intel's going to do fab, and there's going to be a government loan guarantee for what the loan on the building that actually turns into the fab. Like it's several steps away, to the point where it doesn't feel. It feels like when you have a founder like a Palmer Luckey talk about policy in a completely different area or something like that. Like if Palmer's like, we should make land cheaper, energy cheaper. You're not like, oh, well, this is tied directly to Anduril. Like you're just like, yeah, this is just a rational policy by itself. Anyway, the basic idea there has been ensuring that the sourcing of the chip supply chain is as American as possible in order to bring jobs and industrialization back to the U.S. and to enhance the strategic position of the U.S. with an independent supply chain for the benefit of all American companies. This is, of course, different from governments guaranteeing private benefit data center buildouts. There are at least 3 questions behind the question here that are understandably causing concern. First, how is OpenAI going to pay for all this infrastructure it is signing up for? We expect to end this year above $20 billion in annualized revenue run rate, and grow to hundreds of billions by 2030. We are looking at commitments of about 1.4 trillion over the next 8 years. That's longer than before.
Hundreds of billion.
Hundreds of billion.
Yeah. So these are all new numbers, because
these are all new numbers.
There's 1.4 trillion. The previous quote was over the next many years.
Yep.
So it was kind of unclear.
Yep.
I think also the revenue over 20 billion is new. I think the most recent number was something like
14.
It was like 13, 14.
13, 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they've clearly grown a ton since that. Obviously, if they exit, I mean, they won't exit the year at 20, but man, if they exit this is phenomenal growth, like remarkable. I mean, they did like 4 last year or something. What are you thinking? Not good, not big enough?
I mean, no, it's like straight lines on logarithmic curves.
Yeah. For now, we'll see. Okay, so let's see what else.
So obviously, this requires continued revenue growth.
Yeah.
Each doubling is a lot of work, but we are feeling good about our prospects there. We are quite excited about our upcoming enterprise offering, for example.
New categories like consumer devices and robotics that we also expect to be very significant. But there are new categories we have a hard time putting specifics on, like AI that can do scientific discovery, which we will touch on later. We are looking at ways to more directly sell compute capacity to other companies and people. And we are pretty sure the world is going to need a lot of AI cloud, and we are excited to offer this. We may also raise more equity or debt capital in the future, but everything we currently see suggests that the world is going to need a great deal more computing power than what we are already planning for. Second, is OpenAI trying to become too big to fail, or should the government pick winners and losers? Our answer on this is an unequivocal no. If we screw up and can't fix it, we should fail. And other companies will continue on doing good work and servicing customers. That's how capitalism works, and the ecosystem and economy would be fine. We plan to be a wildly successful company, but if we get it wrong, that's on us. Our CFO talked about government financing yesterday and then later clarified her point, underscoring that she should have phrased things more clearly. As mentioned above, we think that U.S. government should have a national strategy for its own AI infrastructure. Tyler Cowen asked me a few weeks ago about the federal government becoming an insurer of last resort for AI in the sense of risks like nuclear power, not about overbuild. I said, I do think the government ends up as an insurer of last resort, but I think I mean that in a different way than you mean that, and I don't expect them to actually be writing the policies in the way that they do for nuclear. Of course, this is just the soft backstop that exists generally in our economy and in our democracy. Again, this was in a totally different context than the data center build out and not about bailing out a company. What we were talking about is something going catastrophically wrong, say a rogue actor using AI to coordinate a large-scale cyber attack that disrupts critical infrastructure, and how intentional misuse of AI could cause harm at scale that only the government could deal with. I do think that the government should be writing insurance policies. I do not think that the government should be writing insurance policies for AI companies. I agree with that. Third, why do you need to spend so much now instead of growing more slowly? We are trying to build the infrastructure for a future economy powered by AI, and given everything we see on the horizon, in our research program, this is the time to invest to be really scaling up our technology. Massive infrastructure projects take quite a while to build, so we have to start now. Based on the trends we are seeing and of how people are using AI and how much of it that they would like to use, we believe the risk to OpenAI of not having enough computing power is significantly more and more likely than the risk of having too much. Even today, we and others have to rate limit our products and not offer new features and models because we face such a severe compute constraint. In a world where AI can make important scientific breakthroughs, but at the cost of tremendous amounts of computing power, we want to be ready to meet that moment. And we no longer think it's in the distant future. Our mission requires us to do what we can to not wait many more years to apply AI to hard problems like contributing to curing deadly diseases and to bring the benefits of AGI to people as soon as possible. Also, we want a world of abundant and cheap AI. We expect massive demand for this technology and for it to improve people's lives in many ways. It is a great privilege to be in the arena and to have the conviction to take a run at building infrastructure at such scale for something so important. This is a bet we are making, and given our vantage point, we feel good about it, but we, of course, could be wrong, and the market, not the government, will deal with it if we are. I like that. Before we get Jordy Hayes' reaction, let me tell you about Figma.com. Think bigger, real faster. Figma helps design and development teams build great products together. Jordy, give me another reaction. What are you thinking? Are you convinced? Does this update you more positively, or are you more bearish based on this?
I think it's a good response.
Okay.
I think leading with more information is always good.
Yeah, new information.
New information.
Not even really. It's sort of buried. It's right there. It's right there.
Yeah. So
like,
saying,
boom,
we're
here's
excited
a new
about our
revenue number.
enterprise offering.
Yeah.
It's great. They have a solid enterprise business already. I'm sure it'll continue to grow quickly. New consumer devices and robotics.
Mm-hmm.
Excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard for them to lean on those, right? Because when I look at when you look at the history of big tech companies launching ambitious products, oftentimes they either flop entirely or lose money for a long time. And OpenAI has a bunch of brilliant builders on their team, but again, you look at Sora. Even though Sora was innovative, right? I don't think it's going to be. I don't think Sora will be a successful consumption platform. I still remain pretty bearish there, and so I think it's hard for them to. When I see that their project
Sora has fallen. It's now fourth. ChatGPT, then Threads, then Google Gemini. than
Let's give it
Sora.
up for Connor Hayes over at Threads.
Threads is crazy. I mean, we were talking, was it Anish yesterday at A16Z? He was like, have you posted on Threads? With that, am I crazy?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was him, right? And I was like, yeah, no, I take your point. Like my community is not on Threads right now. But I still think it's actually worked pretty well. And I mean, certainly by the charts, it looks like it's working.
But
Sora's holding on too.
So look at the history of big tech companies, which...
Wait, hold on. You got to see number 5. Neon, Money Talks, get paid for your calls. It has 914 ratings, a 2.7 average. People don't love this app, but it happens to be the 5th biggest free app in the store. Sora, on the other hand, has 88,000 ratings, 4.7 stars. Like
Yeah.
people
Okay, so
dig it.
Threads
has 1.5 million.
Going back to saying the categories he's excited about.
Yeah.
So new consumer devices. If
That one seems really hard.
So Zuck has been doing this,
Yeah.
right? And just been like
Yeah.
literally just lighting
Yeah.
money on fire
Yeah.
for years now,
Yeah.
right?
The enterprise offerings, I
if
feel
you're
like
saying,
that's
if you're
a
saying
layup.
we are looking at about 1.4 trillion of commitments over the next 8 years,
Yep.
and you're saying that we're part of our solution to delivering on this is new consumer electronics.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, I don't lean on that too hard. Robotics too. I wouldn't be surprised to see various forms of robotics from OpenAI.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's also Merge, which is a separate company that OpenAI is invested in.
Yeah.
BCI. But none of these things scream cash flow to me. Scream high margin revenue that we're going to be able to reinvest against these commitments. Right. These to me seem very likely like new business lines that also lose money.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a company that's losing I guess the sense is that they're losing about $10 billion a quarter today. That's probably, let's assume that's accelerating.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to finish the year at $20 billion run rate. Losses are also accelerating. They want to launch new products that are probably also going to lose money.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm excited about these categories. I think they're going to make cool, novel products.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give me more confidence that they can meet those commitments.
Let me pitch you a recapitulation of everything we've been talking about. Keep the government out of the application layer. Focus on the energy layer. Just work on driving down energy prices and let all the tech companies duke it out, and they will be beneficiaries of cheaper energy.
Yeah.
But I want tons of American jobs building everything from natural gas to
solar.
That solar plant, I want 10 of those, and I want it staffed by Americans. How about that?
Yeah. I'm on board with that.
We could agree with that?
I'm on board for the government financing the build out of every possible energy source that we can. Right?
Fantastic.
I hate looking. So that's something we can agree on.
We can agree on. I have another pitch for you.
Super on board with that. The other thing is we're also looking for ways to more directly sell compute capacity to other companies and people. And so when I look at this, when you're simultaneously saying we're so compute constrained that they're making the AI lazy and they're not launching new features.
Yeah.
And then also we're looking at ways to sell compute to other companies. To me, this just says like OpenAI is a new hyperscaler, and it's so hard to compete with the hyperscalers that have huge amounts of cash flow.
Yeah.
That they need every advantage that they possibly can, right? And one way they could get an advantage is through programs like Sarah suggested and then walked back.
I don't think she was suggesting that at all. I don't think she was suggesting a backstop for OpenAI specifically.
Not OpenAI specifically. Yeah. But there would be certain companies that would
get
a part of these programs and could benefit.
Yeah. I have another idea. Universal Basic Vanta. Every American entrusted to Vanta. They could automate compliance. They could manage risk. They could accelerate trust with AI because Vanta helps the Americans get compliant fast. And Vanta doesn't stop there. Their AI and automation powers everything from evidence collection to continuous monitoring to security reviews and vendor risk, whether you're starting up or scaling. The timeline continues to be in turmoil. Jason Calacanis chimed in and said, if OpenAI were to fail, it would have zero impact on the future of AI. Zero, he says. They have a dozen viable competitors and 10 folks who would buy the assets. Let it rise or fall based on merit. Like, this is like the fact that this is the reaction to that quote is like so crazy. Just like you talk about this a lot with like branding, where it's like you can get a lot of attention, but like you need to zoom out and think about like what are the two words that are going out in people's mind, right? And so you might have some funny rage baity viral marketing campaign, but if it's like, oh, we're gonna have our CEO dress up like the garbage, who's the garbage man from Sesame Street? You know, the Oscar the Grouch.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like at a certain point, like even if it goes viral for whatever reason, like you're just associating your brand with trash. And like you zoom out and like that's rough. And like the idea of like federal backstop just immediately conjures massive failure. And it just puts your company and failure right next to each other. So very, very rough, very rough. Let's read what Gabriel said. He said, this is why traditionally CFOs are only allowed to speak fake accounting identities in public. Backstop is what the Federal Reserve calls it when they have to save 20 banks from exploding in a global financial crisis. The word you were looking for, Sarah, was partnership. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. It's interesting. I'm actually more pro backstop than partnership because I don't love the idea of the government picking winners in any particular layer of the stack, but partnership just sounds so much more positive than backstop, which conjures up it just conjures up financial crisis. It just feels like major layoffs, recession, stock market sell-off as soon as you start talking about backstop. So very rough. Doug over at SemiAnalysis has another take. I think he's pro backstop too. I think he's AGI build. He says, I'm on a vacation, which I'm desperately trying not to check work stuff, but I've been reading some books on railroads, and like the final piece is the government needs to just start passing pro AI legislation, and we are in the Gilded Age. Tyler, did you read it the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think that the government needs to like spend a ton of money on building data centers.
Yeah.
Basically, all you need to do is just like remove a lot of the environmental regulation. Like we're just not going to get natural gas with the current like regulatory regime.
Yeah.
Or we're not going to get nuclear within 15 years. We're not going to get all these things.
Yeah.
So it's basically like I don't think that you need to have some massive injection of like capital into the data center or the fabs or any of this stuff. You just need to remove a lot of like the bloat and regulation.
Yeah. It's wild time. There was a bunch of other stuff that Sarah Fryer said in her Wall Street Journal appearance. They need a huge amount of money to stay on the cutting edge. Compute grew 20x in 2 years. To do that again, it will take $1 trillion at current compute costs. To pay for that, they have revenue, they have VC investment, but thirdly, they need financial innovation on financing their chips. I was thinking to myself, I think. That meme that's like, what's an opinion that will get you canceled or something like that? And then you like quote tweet it with your opinion or you do like the man standing, like I believe. I feel like GPU depreciation schedules should be like 30 years. This is a hot take that I'm working on the defense of, but I feel like, I don't know exactly about how long they last, but I feel like the viable work that will be done by A100s will stick around for a very long time. And I think that we will be surprised looking back on how, like, yes, we got better chips, but the old chips actually stuck around and were doing the like GPT-4 level workloads forever. And I don't know how much profit they will make, but I think just in terms of like, will you have it still running or will you be throwing it out? Because the narrative right now is like, oh yeah, we're going to be throwing out all these chips in 2 years. What do you think, Tyler? You push back on that?
I feel like it's not like, it's kind of an objective question. Like new chips come out, old chips are worth less. They depreciate after like 5 years. You got to switch out for the new ones.
No, you don't. You don't, because you would say the same thing about like an Oracle database, right? like you'd be like, oh yeah, like you sold someone a physical mainframe computer. Like now there's a better computer. Like, but it's like, no, like it is serving its goal. It's serving its purpose, which is acting as a mainframe computer. And that's why mainframe computers stuck around for so long. Like there were better computers, but you already have it. You already have it and you're just depreciating. It's non-cash expense.
This is, so I guess it makes sense if you think that we're still going to be serving GPT-4.
Yeah.
But
think
it's like, why would anyone want GPT-4 if you can have a cheaper, better model?
Why would anyone want Fortran when we have Python?
Well, those are like bloated old companies that like aren't important.
Oh, so we're post-bloat now? There's no more bloated companies?
The new companies that are using AI a lot are not going to be the same ones that you are going to want to use the old models.
I think there might be companies that are just getting off of like on-prem data centers going into the cloud, and they're going to be adopting GPT-4 in like 2032, and they're going to be like, this is sick. And then from 2032 to 2050, they're going to be like, man, GPT-4 is amazing. Like that's the level of adoption for some of these companies. It's going to be slow. And so you're just going to be like, yeah, I got the A100s for you. They're the best ever.
Yeah, but I think
no, I agree with this. This is a truly nuclear take. Ben Thompson wrote about it a little bit. That was interesting. He said, start with the physical. So I mean, we're in fun times when Ben Thompson drops on Stratechery the benefits of bubbles. That was the title of his article.
Whoa, Bub Talk.
Bub Talk. This is like something that I think will be very memorable. Before I read from this, let me tell you about Graphite.dev. Code review for the age of AI. Graphite helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster. So start with the physical. A huge amount of the money being spent on AI has gone to GPUs, particularly NVIDIA, rocketing the fabless design company to a nearly $5 trillion valuation and the title of most valuable company in the world. The problem from the Carlota Perez perspective is that all of this spending on chips is relative to the sort of infrastructure she wrote about, railroads, factories, fiber, short-lived. Chips break down and get superseded by better ones. Most hyperscalers depreciate them over 5 years, and that may be generous. Whatever the correct number is, chips don't live on as fully depreciated assets that can be used cheaply for years, which means that to the extent speculative spending goes towards GPUs is the extent to which this bubble might turn out to be a disappointing one. So if there's a bubble in railroads, and we're like, we think railroads are going to unlock 5% GDP growth. It's amazing. And then you build all the railroads. Like the worst case scenario is you end up with a bunch of rails and like you can still put cars on them. Like they still work. But with a bunch of GPUs that like depreciate and get useless and they break, like they don't stick around forever. But I don't necessarily think about it that way. I think that some of these data centers might be useful for a very long time, even if they're not on the margin. I don't know. I think they get fully depreciated. I think they still do useful things.
The good thing, John, is we're going to find out.
We're going to
find out. Right now,
out.
we're effing around.
Right now,
Soon
we're
going to
effing
find
around.
out. Ethan
What do you
Frost
say
in
in
the
the
chat says, the A100 in my 8 Sleep Pod 9 got me dreaming slop you cannot even imagine.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Everyone's
Dean Ball says, Fryer is describing a worse form of regulatory capture than anything we have seen proposed in any U.S. legislation I am aware of. A firm lobbying for this outcome is literally, rather than impressionistically, lobbying for regulatory capture. And this is going back to what I was saying before. If there is some type of program where the government is guaranteeing loans made for certain data center projects, it's not like anybody will just get to be in that program, right?
Yep.
You're going to have to, I'm sure, the various players involved in a deal would have to be qualified in some way. Probably going to need a lot of lawyers and things like that, and you're going to need a trusted brand. You're going to need to be able to show that you have demand, all these kind of things. And I'm with Dean Ball on this one. And Sarah and the team have walked it back, but they said it.
Well, I mean, the administration basically said no immediately, too. So even if that was what she meant, she was testing the waters, who knows? David Sachs said there will be no federal bailout for AI, but he did address your comment, Tyler. He said, that said, we do want to make permitting and power generation easier. The goal is rapid infrastructure build out without increasing residential rates for electricity. Let's hear it for that. Finally, to give the benefit of the doubt, I don't think anyone was actually asking for a bailout. That would be ridiculous. but company executives can clarify their own comments. Good point. What do you think?
I mean, also it's like obviously the administration would never say that. Oh yeah, we are going to backstop everything because that just like massively increases like rampant
totally
speculation. That's like totally risky.
Yeah.
So it's like this basically does not mean anything of what the administration will actually do because we've seen time and time again like they want to see the stock market be going up.
Oh yeah.
So if it starts going down too much, it's only a matter
Yeah, I
of
mean
time.
the White House
market
dropped
down,
a reminder yesterday. They said midweek reminder, don't be a panicking. And they put up this pretty cool picture of Trump.
Don't be a panicking. We figured it out, by the way.
People are not
panicking American. It's panicking American.
People aren't quite listening yet. CoreWeave is down 19%.
It's so crazy that this news cycle led to Zero Hedge saying there will be no federal bailout for AI, like Trump AI official on X. Like that's where David Sacks's like message goes, which is crazy because like a few weeks ago, no one was talking about needing a bailout. Now it has the aesthetics of like, oh, you need a bailout? Like what's going wrong? Like that it was going so well just a couple weeks ago. Like it's just such an odd vibe. Very, very rough.
NVIDIA down almost 8% over the last 5 days. So anyways, a bunch of other names are down a ridiculous amount. Duolingo is down.
Is Snap
30%.
Up? Snap is up, right?
CarMax down 18%. HubSpot down 18%.
Wow.
DoorDash down 15%.
Crazy sell-off.
And a lot of these, what's been notable this week, companies are selling off after an earnings beat.
Well,
Palantir down 10.7% in the past 5 days.
whether you're going long or you're going short, do it on public.com.
That's right.
Investing for those that take it seriously. They got multi-asset investing, industry-leading yields. They're trusted by millions. Snap shares surged after the company announced a $400 million partnership with Perplexity to incorporate AI-powered search engine into Snapchat. The deal gives Snap a new business line and puts the social media company squarely into the mix around AI chatbots and assistants.
I said something about this Saturday, not this specific deal, but I was like, why is Snap not monetizing their almost 500 million DAUs of young people? And this is a great way for them to do it. I don't know how long Perplexity can. They're using cash and equity, so that's helpful. We'll see how long they can afford this kind of deal. But in the short term, I think it's a smart way for them to at least a way to do a single deal that can really drive hopefully some meaningful usage for them.
Yeah. The partnership was made along the third quarter earnings. It seems like Snap jumped well. The shares jumped as much as 18% after markets opened in New York on Thursday. Stock was down about 32% so far this year through Wednesday's close. 477 million DAUs in the third quarter for Snap, an 8% jump from a year ago. So they're still growing. And the company also reported 943 million monthly active users. So they're almost at 1 billion MAUs and 500 million DAUs, which is remarkable. So, I mean, if you can kind of put those two companies together, that could be a really good outcome, maybe. I don't know.
It's wild that Snap has almost 1 billion monthly actives and is valued substantially less than Perplexity.
That is wild, yeah. But maybe they'll tie the knot somehow, do some sort of merger. I don't know. Perplexity has been kind of on the hunt for a dance partner for a while, right?
Yeah.
And we've heard that Apple was maybe kicking the tires, and there are deals all over the place. And I mean, we've also said it was kind of odd that Snapchat didn't have a dance partner on the AI side, since every other major social media platform is kind of bolted onto a lab at this point. XAI and X are obviously the most prominent example, but even like LinkedIn and Microsoft and obviously what Meta's doing and what Google's doing on YouTube. There's so many different ways for them, for every other social network to be a beneficiary of whatever their foundation lab is doing. And Snap just doesn't have that, and you don't necessarily want to stand that up from scratch.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about Julius. .ai, the AI data analyst. Connect your data, ask questions in plain English, and get insights in seconds. No coding required. Rune also chimed in on backstop gate. He says, I don't think the U.S. government should backstop data center loans or funnel money to NVIDIA's 90% gross margin business. Instead, they should make it really easy to produce energy with subsidies and better rules. Infrastructure that's beneficial for all and puts us at parity with China. Build your own. Wow, this is an example of a person who's not into AI. Danny with 142 followers here saying, build your own effing energy sources. Stop being parasites on the grid. And Rune says, yes, all major data centers today come packed with power sources. And so it's interesting because the way the grid is set up, the way the U.S. economy is set up is not like we don't build separate grids for each use case.
Yep.
Like we didn't build a separate grid for Netflix.
The Ultradome.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like some people might say that hospitals deserve better access to electricity than Netflix, right? Like, do we really need Netflix? Like, is that life or death? No. Like we should route the energy resources accordingly. That's not how it works in our economy. Like we have one grid and we all draw from it and we all pay whatever price that is. But this idea of the government putting the thumb on the scale of and basically doing away with like what is effectively net neutrality or grid neutrality is super, super alluring to people right now. Like, I think you're right that that's going to be like a major political issue, that people are going to say, why are my rates going up for the thing I don't like? When it's kind of always been that way, there's been why are airline ticket prices going up? Because people are ordering things that are, shipping by air. Like that happens. There's all sorts of different ways that these services flow back and forth. But people are not into the AI one. So
Joe Weisenthal says, what is the case against bailouts if winning the AI race against China is existential? I'm not actually making this argument or have this view necessarily, but public money backstops bailouts seem like the natural endpoint of how AI is discussed at these levels.
Yeah. I mean, the case, there is no case against bailouts. If winning the AI race against China is existential, America and every company should do everything possible. It should be the sole focus. The question is just like this idea of AI being existential and the AI race in China being existential is certainly decelerating because we're moving away from AI super intelligence. The prompt is, invade Taiwan and it just happens. Like that doesn't feel like it's coming. And so people are like, well, let the Chinese have some slop, who cares? It's not that big of a deal, because it's more about diffuse little gains in the economy here and there. It's not.
I feel like I should read through a little bit of this FT article about Jensen saying China will win the AI race with the U.S.
Yeah. Before you do, let me tell you about Fall, generative media platform for developers, the world's best generative image, video, and audio models all in one place. Develop and fine-tune models with serverless GPUs and on-demand clusters.
Well said. In the starkest comments yet from the head of the world's most valuable company, Huang told the Financial Times, China is going to win the AI race. Huang's remarks come after the Trump administration maintained a ban on California-based NVIDIA selling its most advanced chips to Beijing following a meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi last week. The NVIDIA chief said that the West, including the U.S. and the U.K., was being held back by cynicism, and we need more optimism. Huang said on Wednesday and on the sidelines of the Financial Times Future of AI Summit, Huang singled out new rules on AI by U.S. states that could result in 50 new regulations. He contrasted that approach with Chinese energy subsidies that made it more affordable for local tech companies to run Chinese alternatives to NVIDIA's AI chips. Power is free, he said. The FT reported this week that China has boosted energy subsidies for several large data centers run by Chinese tech giants, including ByteDance, Alibaba, and Tencent. Local governments have beefed up power incentives after Chinese tech groups complained to regulators about the increased costs of using domestic semiconductors from companies such as Huawei and Cambricon. People familiar with the matter said most such systems are less energy efficient than those made by NVIDIA. Huang had previously warned that the latest American AI models were not far ahead of their Chinese rivals, urging the U.S. government to open up the market to its chips to keep the rest of the world dependent on its technology. But following his meeting with Xi, Trump said last week that he did not want to let China use NVIDIA's cutting-edge Blackwell chips, the most advanced. We will not let anybody have them other than the United States. Trump told CBS, we will let them deal with NVIDIA, but not in terms of the most advanced.
Yeah, so there's an argument here for selling chips to China and still competing and winning the AI race, right? It's like giving both teams, I don't know, like pumped up footballs and then turning them loose on the gridiron. Like you're saying like we want a fair fight, we want a free market, we want everyone who wants to buy chips can buy them, and then it's still a race. Like everyone gets a pair of cleats. And then you have to actually race. And so what are you racing on? You're racing on ingenuity. You're racing on ability to actually build things effectively, find valuable uses for the technology, and then scale those up. It's not the best argument given that he is like the whole question of like trying to sell chips to China while making this argument is there is a little bit of a conflict there. But he's been very clear about this whole idea of the way to win is to have China standardize on American technology.
And we know from history that even if we give China chips, they will still spend as much as they need to in order to catch up themselves.
I don't know. I do think that I do think that you can put supply pressure on the Chinese system.
Sure, maybe a
little bit.
Maybe you could slow it down a little.
I mean, they've been investing in semiconductors for 50 years, right?
Like how many 5-year plans?
Yeah, they're gonna continue to do that with or without. But I still think that there is a reasonable argument. It's not the best argument, but there is some level of an acceptable argument to this idea that if you continue to push NVIDIA chips there, it just makes the Huawei Ascend just a little bit less exciting. Yeah. Because if you're in a hurry and you're High Flyer, like what did High Flyer do with DeepSeek? Like they trained on NVIDIA chips because it was like easier than like waiting around and figuring out how to do it with Huawei for the most part.
One of the reasons that people, the people that are loudest about the AI race are currently building and enabling products that just look and feel like traditional tech products, right? And so it makes this post I think is pretty reflective of kind of general sentiment, specifically outside of the tech industry. From Elliot, he says, if OpenAI blows up and investors are saved by the government, I would vote for Fidel Castro. Again, I don't think this is not what Sarah Fryer was proposing, right?
Yeah.
But it is a funny.
People are not into it. There's also a little bit of cognitive dissonance there too, because if the products are just tech products, no one was really upset that Uber and Facebook and Google were trying to sell their products into China. No one was really upset about that. The whole reason why it became like don't sell AI to China was because it was like AI is so valuable. It's so powerful. And so if you don't believe AI is super powerful, then you should maybe be okay with selling it to China because you're just like, well, we'll sell steel and we'll sell corn and we'll sell, software and why not sell some chips? Because is it super intelligence? If it is, then yes, you want to hoard all the chips. This is the whole Tyler says.
I just look at the
Jensen's
timing,
not AGI built because he would hoard the chips for himself.
The timing of Jensen coming out and saying China's going to win the AI race and not even clarifying what that means, right? Are they going to build better data centers faster? Are they going to have better models? Are they going to unleash super intelligence?
I mean, you've seen
at the same time, because I assume Trump will see this quote and he's going to say, well, I don't want to lose to China on anything.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of like getting that reaction is what can create.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the original like AGI pilling definition of, what is the scale of compute that you need to win? And if you have an order of magnitude more compute, scaling AI models all over the place, like you are in the lead of the race and you want to be in the lead. And so what's the risk? This is why when Dwarkesh like mapped out the path to AGI and he had the probability distribution, China was like, if AGI happens in 15 years, China is more likely to get it because they're on a steeper energy ramp than we are. But if AGI happens sooner, and it is just sort of an algorithmic breakthrough, like we do have an advantage in America because we have more data centers right now. And so the idea of like the energy race, like Jensen is making a good point here. Like I think he is 100% correct about like we need more optimism. We need to focus on these rules on AI that could result in 50 new regulations in every different state. And I contrasted that approach with energy subsidies.
I think we're all very against state by state AI regulation.
Yeah.
A lot of these laws are just being created and the various companies are not going to be able to even comply with them. And you could have instances where companies just say, "All right, we're not going to sell into Colorado at all."
Yeah.
But Jensen, at least in that bit, was not advocating for government investment on the energy side.
More deregulation.
Yeah,
which is, I think, a fine point to make, and I think it's fine to make that point as a point of contrast with China. Like if you want to get President Donald Trump's attention around energy regulation, this is a pretty good headline. Right? I don't see the problem. Like you want to say, hey, let's drive down energy costs in America. Make it about geopolitics. Why not? Do you have a problem with that?
Making it about geopolitics is pretty effective.
It's effective, right? Like you said you want to get Trump's attention. This is the way to do it. It's good. Let me tell you about Turbo Puffer. Search every byte. Serverless vector and full text search built from first principles and object storage. Fast, 10x cheaper, and extremely scalable. Where'd you want to go next?
This post from High Yield Harry. Please, bro, just subsidize our losses and then we're good. Please, we're a national strategic asset.
Wall Street gossip just put the too big to fail thing. People are going wild.
I mean, this has been.
Oh, this play-by-play from Aaron Francis is pretty wild.
Sam Altman snaps at Brad Friday. Michael Burry shorts.
Did Michael Burry actually short? I thought he was back and forth. But
no, he did short. It was just the size was exaggerated.
Oh, okay, that's what it was, Gone.
Alex Karp crashes out on TV. I didn't think that was that much. I didn't. It just seemed like a pretty normal Karp interview. You.
Oh yeah, I think I saw a little bit of CNBC.
He was like maybe slightly more annoyed. DoorDash misses. OpenAI CFO floats a bailout, not quite accurate. Floats a backstop maybe, and then takes it back. McDonald's is for the upper class. Did you see this?
No.
Like the lower income consumption at McDonald's is declining, which is concerning.
That's not great. Well, we will have to continue digging into that later. For now, we have our first guest of the show, Brett Taylor from Sierra. Brett, how are you doing? Good to see you.
Doing great.
Congratulations on all the progress.
I appreciate it.
We have to hear your reaction to Backstop Gate. We can definitely go over Sierra product updates first, but do you have any immediate reaction to this to the timeline? Because it's crazy right now.
The timeline, like, are you talking about Backstop?
I'm talking about the X timeline. This idea of a federal backstop for AI build out, the build out that's going on. Everyone's going back and forth. Do you have a take?
I do not have a take.
Okay.
I'm sorry for no hot takes on this one.
Okay.
It's like, as you know, we just got off of Sierra Summit. I've just been waiting in the timeline today. No hot take right now. Sorry for that.
Okay. In the trenches with Sierra, let's break it down. What are the biggest updates in your world?
So yeah, yesterday we had our first customer conference, Sierra Summit. It was awesome. I mean, as an entrepreneur, it was sort of funny. I had this like before and after post on X, and it was like, just a few years ago, it was like Clay and me in a whiteboard, and now we've got 400 customers in person. But 3 big product announcements. First was some new channels. So if you think about customer experience, you often think about things like phone and chat. We announced that you could publish your agent directly to ChatGPT. We think ChatGPT is the new front door for the internet. And if you think about building your customer experience, it's on your first-party properties like your mobile app or your website, but it's third-party properties like ChatGPT and eventually Gemini and others as well.
So the flow there is somebody's looking for they're having an issue with a product, they're talking with ChatGPT about it, and then theoretically there could be some type of pop-up that would say like, do you want to talk with an agent about this specific issue, and then that the individual company would have more control over that interaction. Is that right?
Well, it's built on ChatGPT apps, which was announced at Developer Day earlier this month, late last month. And the idea is this. Let's say you're a home seller and you have a first-party agent, which you can go to your website and chat with it, and maybe browse through homes. Well, a lot of your customers are starting on ChatGPT as well. So you've done all this investment to make this agent. You have to build it twice. Which parts of your experience do you want in ChatGPT? Now, with the click of a button, you can just publish your agent directly via ChatGPT apps. And it really means you can have the same experience in your mobile app and your website as you have on ChatGPT with this new extensibility model they developed. Here's the big picture. I mean, if you just think of any consumer brand, every new platform brings distribution channels, right? The mobile had App Store, the web had portals, and then search. In the age of AI, it's agents, it's ChatGPT, it's Gemini. A lot of our customers are thinking about, what do we want our presence to be on our own properties? What do we want our presence to be when people are starting from ChatGPT? We think just the world of channels are changing now. It's going from chat and phone and your website to chat and your phone and your website, ChatGPT, Gemini, agent-to-agent communication. So when we help our customers build customer experiences, we're trying to help them reimagine what that might be in a world where a person's personal agent might be doing the shopping for them. How do they set themselves up for success there? The complex part is there's sort of 2 sides to that coin. It's like, where do you maybe commoditize your brand? Like, what do you want to hold back on your first party experience? What do you want to be present on these third party sites? So we've really tried to build a platform that's flexible, but we're really excited about it because I think, it is just a brave new world. People are trying to figure out where demand generation, demand fulfillment comes from in this age of AI, and really proud to be one of the first companies to enable it.
Yeah, help me understand a little bit more about the brand side. I feel like as a consumer, there's so many times, I'm sure so many people do this in ChatGPT, they're asking about a product and they're just asking the underlying model. And they're just assuming that if I'm asking about Diet Coke, that that ChatGPT has hoovered up all of Reddit on Diet Coke and the actual Diet Coke website and the FAQ page that Diet Coke has been put up for years. And so if I ask it how many calories are in there, it's going to get it roughly right. But at a certain point, the other side of the equation wants to have a little bit more control. And it feels like you can publish that as an app in the ChatGPT App Store. But what is the funnel from, I just went into a new chat and I don't know that it's in the App Store, and I'm just talking about Diet Coke over here in just a chat. Is at some point ChatGPT going to say, hey, you should actually just be talking to the real app?
I think that is the big question. I don't think the discovery model is completely known yet. And, it's sort of funny, but our reductive form is like, no one really knows where consumer behavior is going to go or even how these discovery models work. But step one is make an agent, because if the only way to use your service is clicking around your website, there's no way to be present in that world, because it's just going to be, essentially the indexed content within the large language model. So our philosophy now is, it's like the early days of the App Store or the early days of the internet. I mean, I remember when I was at Google in 2003, the index would update once a month. We called it the Google dance because people's rankings would change. You fast forward 20 years, SEO and SEM is a super mature industry, right? It's like something that's quantified. We're kind of in the 2003 of this, so no one really knows. But our whole philosophy is like, step one, take your customer experience that's your website, your mobile app today, turn it into an agent. And what that means is enable it to be conversational, enable it to work over the phone, enable it to work on your own website, your own mobile app. Then experiment with publishing parts of it to ChatGPT as a ChatGPT app. And the discovery model, how do people activate it with an app mention? Does it recognize your intent and light it up? I think the form factor here, just like Newsfeed has changed a lot over the years, I don't think anyone completely knows yet, but you can't wait until your competitors figure it out first, right? So this is an interesting thing about these new technologies. And one of the things we try to do at Sierra is say, hey, we're going to be a partner to you to help navigate this world, even though it's uncertain. And I think a lot of people also, there's a question of commoditization. If an agent is doing the purchasing on behalf of a consumer, what's the role of my brand? What's the role of my first-party property? It's almost like if you look at the retail world in mobile, which retailers had the brand equity to have their own mobile app? Which were dependent solely on Instagram for the traffic to their retailer? It's a very nuanced question, and everyone's kind of figuring it out in real time. So I don't want to pretend we have all the answers. But what's neat about what we've done is we're saying, hey, step one, make an agent and prepare yourself for this future and make it super low cost to experiment, which I think if we're in the 2003 era of search, being able to experiment quickly is worth a lot. And that's kind of the value proposition for our customers.
Have you ever seen enterprises adopt a product like they're adopting Sierra? I'm thinking about the post you did, maybe it was a couple weeks ago at this point, or 10 days ago or something, where it was like excited to welcome, and then you just listed off like 40 companies in the Fortune 500. I've never seen a company ever make a post like that. It was pretty shocking. I'm curious if there's any other moment in your career that you've seen this kind of velocity of adoption.
I really haven't. And man, I can tell you, somebody started 2 companies before. I joke with Clay, my co-founder, there's 2 kinds of stress as an entrepreneur. The existential kind, because you're not growing, or the holy shit, everything's on fire kind, because everything is growing. And we're experiencing the latter, and it's fucking awesome. Excuse my language. It's like, just because, oh, sorry, like getting bleeped out here.
No. I was just that was an air horn.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
That's hilarious.
It is fun. And actually, here's the thing. Actually, I'll say one other announcement we had yesterday, but just to answer your question, like the world is changing a lot, and right now, companies are looking for a trusted advisor to help them guide them on this new path. Whether it's what demand's going to come from ChatGPT, what does a conversational version of my interface look like? Are my competitors moving faster than I am? Just think about if you run a large telco right now, every basis point of attrition is worth millions of dollars. And if you can get even a small edge, these are the moments in technology where you can actually change market share, even in markets that are sort of ossified. And so, I appreciated that post on X as well. It made me smile when I wrote it. But on stage yesterday, we had the Rocket Mortgage executive team talking about how the Rocket Assist, which they built on our platform, has improved the conversion rate for refinancing by 4x. We had the CTO of Wayfair on stage talking about how it's impacted their returns and warranty claims. We had the chief product officer of SiriusXM talking about the same. And we launched this product called Agent Data Platform, which I'm happy to talk about more, which is saying, hey, can we move the world of agents from conversational customer service agents into agents that can have long-term relationships, long-term memory, and actually drive sales? And I think, why were we able to have all these people show up yesterday is we're looking towards the future, I think, with a bolder vision than a lot of our competitors in this space. We have a really, I think, consultative approach with our customers to say, we're not going to just throw software over the wall and hope you're successful. We're going to help you be successful with this technology. And just like our conversation about ChatGPT is, we're not going to predict the future perfectly, but if you attach your cart to our horse, so to speak, we're at least going to be marching in the right direction. And I think a lot of companies right now are trying to figure out what they want to be when they grow up as it relates to AI agents. And I'm really proud that we're the partner for some of the best brands in the world.
Yeah, I'm sure you saw clips from the Karpathy interview on Dwarkesh saying that it wasn't the year of agents, it's the decade of agents. What was your reaction to that? Because I'm sure internally at Sierra, it certainly feels like agents are having a moment. But I think broadly, agents as a category, at least consumers, have felt like a little bit let down on some of the product experiences to date on the consumer side, right? We've been kind of promised these product experiences that aren't really good enough to use reliably yet. But on your side, you're obviously seeing companies get, roll these out, get, tremendous results. And so I feel like it's here. It's just not so evenly distributed.
I think that's right. I think both are kind of true at the same time. There's basically AI agents and AGI. And I think as you think about consumer agents, for those to really work, it maybe isn't complete AGI, but it's close, because the amount you need to generalize for an individual, like the three of us, if you looked at the home screens of our phones, there's probably very little overlap, right? To actually have an AI agent that can automate all of our lives, you sort of get the union of all the complexity of everyone's personal lives. In contrast, if you think about sort of, Rocket Assist on Rocket.com, helping somebody go through the refinancing process, it's a relatively structured agent in the grand scheme of things. And so I think where the value right now in the AI market is where you can turn science into engineering. So it's companies like Sierra helping with customer engagement, sales, customer service, or Harvey working in legal. Mm-hmm. And then the moment you say, we're going to make a computer using agent that does everything for all people, that's a science problem. And so Andre Carvathy is probably one of the smartest people I've ever met. So I think he's probably right in a lot of ways, but I think it will be uneven. I think we'll end up with AI agents that make really great math discoveries, but at the same time, you're gonna have an agent that can barely use a computer effectively. And you're like, God, it's like somehow a genius and an idiot at the same time. And that's the complexity of this technology. But that's why I'm so bullish on the applied AI market. I think I like to think of it as like we're taking the science and turning it into engineering. And, I'm really proud that we work in healthcare with like Cigna and R1, the revenue cycle management firm. We work with multinational banks. We work in the mortgage industry. And it's because we're taking all this science and we're whittling it down, say, here's what's shovel ready right now, today. And I think the reason why we've had such traction in the market is that's really valuable. There's a lot of science projects out there. We have a term for it at Sierra called AI tourism. And we're like, no, AI tourism is not useful. It's just, peacocking for your board that you have an AI strategy. What you want are the things that can actually drive sales and cost savings today. And that's what we're trying to deliver at Sierra.
How is the role of and responsibility set of customer experience teams changing already from the companies that you guys are working with? I mean, historically, it'd be like maybe you start out as like an individual like CX rep or agent. You're like handling tickets. Eventually, you're managing a team of reps, and then you're managing a team of managers that are managing reps, and you just go from there. Do you see it evolving already, or is it more an individual rep is managing tickets themselves, they get elevated, and then kind of overseeing the work? How is that kind of evolving today?
One of the most fun and interesting things is with a couple of our customers, the team that was managing their contact centers changed their job titles to AI architects. And so you go from teams who essentially have operating roles, managing teams of people, to teams who are responsible both for those teams of people, but also the AI agent that works with them in concert. So some of the AI agents answering questions automatically. Some is actually managing the team that when the AI agent transfers goes to them, but it's a real organic system. One of the other features we launched yesterday was called Live Assist, and it's saying, can you take the agent you made for your consumer and put it on the desktop of the people in your call center as well, but have a really seamless conversation, because there's not going to be things like AI agents are great. They're not great at everything, but can you have like a single system of intelligence that helps with that whole process? So it's dramatically changing the role, particularly of the teams managing customer experience, because it's gone from just managing people and processes to managing this piece of software. And the thing, you all will understand this intuitively, is when you take something analog, like a phone call to a person, and you make it digital with an AI agent, all the past 2 decades of digital technology are available to you. You can run A/B tests. You have real-time analytics. Yep. It can self-improve. Those are all things, you can't run an A/B, you could. If you have a 12,000 person call center, running an A/B test is like a huge operational burden, but now you can do it with the click of a button. And the interesting thing is it's stuff we've been doing on web pages for the past 20 years, but now you can do it on phone calls. And so it's actually for our product managers, like a lot of our inspiration is actually saying, like, what have we been doing in the world of digital technology for the past 2 decades that we can just bring to this previously analog channel, which I think is a really exciting and oddly simplistic way of looking at the technology, but it's kind of how we think about it.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Do you care?
Thought about that.
Would it upset you if the models didn't improve at all for the next 5 years?
It would upset me, particularly as the chairman of OpenAI. But I think I get where you're going with the question, which is like, how much breakthrough technology do we need for Sierra to make it applicable? And I think right now, actually, the agents work exceptionally well. I'll tell you 2 areas that I think could really improve a lot. Native voice-to-voice models can get a lot better. They sound really interesting today, but a lot of them are prone to hallucination and aren't great at rules adherence. And I think right now, a lot of applied AI, you might be in the world of speech to text and text to speech because you need better reasoning, better adherence. And I think that will change. And I'm really excited about, in general, video and voice feel like we're still in the early-ish innings relative to, the core reasoning models. And then the other thing is, I think, I always bring this up, we're like in the 1997 era of making agents. Like, if you look, I found this article for Sierra Summit about the creating websites in 1997, and there was this Wired article, I'll send it to y'all, and it was basically about banks spending $23 million to add transactional support to their websites, like adding a login form, basically. And then you fast forward to like the late 2010s, and Kylie Jenner starts a multi-billion-dollar cosmetics line with, as I read, 7 full-time staff.
Yep.
And you're like, that's kind of, so I think we're kind of in the 1997 era of building agents where it's still like way too hard, and you end up putting a lot of engineering around what is a very intelligent, set of models just to make it work well. And I think, I always imagine, like, what do you need to have a 7-person team create a multi-billion-dollar business on agents? And I think we just have a lot of product and technology work left to do. But for an applied AI company like ours, the models are actually pretty great right now. I would be disappointed if they didn't get better, but I don't see like a major technical barrier to progress right now, which I think is really exciting, as a business person.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. Amazing to get the update. Congrats on the first summit, and come back on again soon.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Have a great rest of your day. Before we bring in our next guest, let me tell you about Google AI Studio that create an AI-powered app faster than ever. Gemini understands the capabilities you need and automatically wires up the right models and APIs for you. Get started at ai.studio/build. Our next guest is the CEO of
the legend,
Roblox, Dave Baszucki. How you doing, Dave?
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again, twice in 1 week.
Look at us. We didn't stream our last conversation. I'm very excited that we are live for this one. But since it is your first time on the show, I would love for you to just give us a little bit of an update on where the business is, what's the newest, what's the latest and greatest in your world.
Hey, so first off, thanks for having me on. I am a huge fan. You're reinventing really the future of business news. So I love your multimodal streaming strategy. And it was great seeing you guys 2 days ago. Yeah. Every day about 150 million people now come to Roblox, and they play, they communicate, they hang out. Not in games made by Roblox, but literally in experiences made by a huge creator community. So everything on Roblox is built by the community. And we've shared about a year ago, we believe Roblox will get to 10% of all gaming running on the platform. We're at about 3% right now. Just came off a great earnings call last week. Our year-on-year bookings is growing 70%, and our year-on-year DAUs are growing 70%.
Wow. So, I mean, I asked you this before. I'm going to ask you again because it's a funny question. It feels like you have built such a powerful platform. The business is running so smoothly. You have this amazing cohort of particularly young gamers who are going to grow up and probably stay with the platform forever. Can you just do nothing and win? Like if you just keep the servers online and keep the platform flexible, it's not like you have to come up with the next greatest piece of intellectual property because you are the platform. So if I misunderstand that, what do you have to do day to day to actually move the ball down the field to get to that 10% that your goal is?
I like the way you think of that. And we, for those of us that are mathematicians out there, we sometimes think of the second and third derivative, not just the first derivative. And what you shared is exactly right. If we walked away, just kept the lights on, there's enormous native growth in the platform. This is a highly technical platform. Creators make experiences. They auto-translate. They run anywhere in the world. We've now seen peak concurrency records for gaming all around the world. In August, Grow a Garden, one of the more recent big games on Roblox, hit 25 million concurrents. So I would say we cannot walk away. We need to support infra and support scale. But if we did walk away, I think there may be some native growth that keeps going. What we think about when we're running the company, though, is the exact opposite of that. We think about, are we constantly layering in systems? Are we building a machine that can keep growing? And are we building a machine that as we hit 10% of the gaming space, we're growing right by that? And the gaming market's pretty interesting. It's about 180 to 200 billion. It's arguably really sitting right there for technical innovation, for new ways of distributing, for games that run really well on low-end Android phones and on high-end PCs, for games that incorporate AI within the experience. So we just think there's enormous headroom in this market.
What's exciting to you about AI as a creative tool or a tool that enables people to build games faster? And what's most exciting to you about AI that can be integrated into a gaming experience? Because I feel like they're kind of two distinct buckets.
I think there's several buckets. Behind the scenes over the last 4 to 5 years, we've built out a real substantial offering of models we've built ourselves. We have over 400 models, teams that are building everything from cutting edge voice and text safety models, teams that are building models that auto-translate, teams that are powering our search and discovery models. We are starting, and very shortly, we're going to offer what we call in-experience 4D generation, which is literally the ability to make a game that you or I are playing in, and we can prompt and ask for some type of vehicle, for example, or some type of dwelling, and literally build it as we're playing. So it's a little bit of a wide open field here as far as what types of games are people going to build when they have unlimited AI, not just for the creators, but for everyone who's playing in that game. And I do think the future spec, which we think about, which is an enormous technical spec, is can we host 1 to 100,000 people together? Can they be either photorealistic or cartoony, whatever the developer wants? Can they all be talking, listening, interacting with each other? And can they dynamically change the environment? Can one or two or many of them essentially be dungeon masters and changing the environment dynamically with AI? That's a huge technical lift, but it's what we're working on.
How do you so when I think of the Roblox business and people are very excited about AI and gaming, I view not to kind of gas you and the team up too much, but I view you guys as having the kind of communication layer, the user base, the distribution. It gives you such an insane advantage because if I'm somebody who wants to create a game, I can create a standalone game. I could go to another platform or things like that, or I could go to Roblox where I know there's hundreds of millions of people that want to play games. Talk about do you think there's what percentage of game when you talk about like owning 10% of the gaming market, do you think game developers of the future will just be kind of defaulting to Roblox? Is that a goal of like, if I want to build a game, it's like why go through the effort of like trying to build my own kind of like community and player base when I can go to where an existing player base is and have a much higher likelihood of success?
Yeah, I think we don't rest on our laurels, obviously, but I do think the gaming market is a bit different than, for example, the video market. And in the video market, whether it's short, UGC, TikTok, YouTube, Netflix, you name it, that's relatively mature technology. The cameras are relatively mature. Video distribution, playback is relatively mature. But the spec I shared with you, 100,000 people in a multiplayer immersive world with AI, is far from technically figured out. And that kind of goes to our vision that the next future of gaming is much more client, server, cloud integrated. It's why Roblox has many, many data centers supporting this. It's why behind the scenes, it's not just the game engine, it's the persistence engine and the analytics system and the economy system. And as you correctly noted, the social graph, a friend graph, where are your friends? Can you find them? As well as the client system, which is, does a game run on iOS, Android, PC, Mac, Xbox, PlayStation, Quest, and more to come? I would say there's one other angle that we really focus on, which is the economics. The more efficiently we can build this whole platform and the more money that can flow back to the creators, the more that combination of technology and discovery starts to make a lot of sense. And so we do focus on running a very efficient company that pushes money back to the creator community. Well over $1 billion will flow back to Roblox creators this year.
It reminds me of Substack. Like there was a time when if you wanted to write online, you started by spinning up a blog website, like writing the code, or at least forking the code, or managing your own server and making sure your website kept like stayed up. And now you can just build an actual game in Roblox. And I understand that it's early, but that does seem like where it's.
What are the keys to managing an economy? Because I feel like you have the unique challenge of managing. You're running and building Roblox, the business and the platform and the infrastructure, and then there's the economy. Of
do you have a chief economist, like a whole economics team? Like how serious is that discipline?
It's really serious. We have a lot of PhDs. Mm-hmm. We have great econ brains. Mm-hmm. A lot of times kids will say, hey, why can't you just give me $1 trillion Robux? And it's a great opportunity to tell kids that if we give you $1 trillion Robux, the average Robuck will be worth about a billionth of what it used to be worth.
Yep.
So we actually know about money supply. We know we can't print currency.
Are you the Jerome Powell of the Roblox ecosystem? You get DMs directly. People ask you to turn on the money printer.
Well, imagine I'm a young kid. Why can't you just make $1 trillion Robux? And so there's a lot of learning there that the value of the ecosystem doesn't change when you print more currency. The currency is just worth less. So we're very careful with the value of our currency. We've done something really right, I think, from the start. And there's a real temptation to do nonlinear functions, accelerators. If a dev gets really big, should we pay them, more per hour, per minute, per Robuck than others? We've really stayed away from all those nonlinear systems, and I think that's added a fairness to it. I do believe we have aligned incentives of creators and users in a good way, so that if the system is working, it keeps working year after year.
Is there any world where there's an independent Roblox Fed, either through crypto or some sort of spinning out or some sort of nonprofit or some sort of advisory group where like the monetary policy of the Roblox ecosystem is not set by anyone with Roblox stock options?
Sounds like a nightmare.
It sounds like a nightmare. I'm not advocating for this. I'm just wondering, have you done the thought experiment?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just fascinating.
There are some fun thought experiments around if I'm holding Roblox currency, is it backed by a digital vehicle? And is that digital vehicle stable and backed by $1? So there are as we get bigger and people start to hold larger amounts of money, and we have both Robux and fiat currency, it is worth thinking what gives confidence to consumers.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
How early can you tell that a game is a home run, like a hit?
Oh, interesting.
Like, is there like within, like, let's say like 10,000 people try a new game? Is that enough? Can you get enough of a read from that to understand that game could someday have 1 million concurrents?
I have both two answers to that. One answer I would say is some companies work intuitively and they design great stuff. Other companies work hyper analytically and they have systems and whatever. On the intuitive front, a couple years ago, I was just playing on Roblox, and there were about 800 people in a experience called Dress to Impress, which was it was like a fashion game with their own avatars, their own clothing style, competitively put on your clothing and compete in a runway show. And it felt really good. And I forwarded it to the team just because there's a lot of attempts to really get fashion good. Simultaneously, we have a great team of people who work on search and discovery. And our general philosophy is let's make search and discovery as predictable as possible, as transparent as possible, and as aligned as possible with both the users trying to find cool new stuff as well as the creators, which is bubbling up great new stuff on the platform. Dress to Impress got picked up by that algorithm and got forwarded a bit, and that helped drive the speed of the viral success. So both, I would say, the users themselves share with word of mouth, as well as our algorithms surface great content. It's why I believe in the last year, we had 7 experiences hitting 10 million daily active users at some point in Q3. And I believe 5 of them were new in the last 12 months.
How do you think about the layers of the Roblox economy? And I'd love for you to explain just a cut deeper, maybe on the Grow a Garden example, but are there creators, or do you envision in the future creators that would identify not as a Roblox creator, but as a Grow a Garden creator? And you're basically creating like a sub-economy within the overall economy because the tools of game design are so robust that there's exchange rates. How do you think about the layers of the onion on the platform that you're building?
I like how you think about this layer thing. In a way, gaming is very different than video in that on a platform like Roblox, you can create an experience on Roblox. So you're a creator, and that experience can have creators within the experience. And so there are 2 layers there. There's a little bit of a long-term future proofing in that there are more and more experiences where, they started initially as experiences like Lumberjack Tycoon, where you would build a lumber mill and you would be a creator in Lumberjack Tycoon and compete as a creator within that experience. I think where this goes is there are quote games on Roblox that have individual creators within them that may actually make money being a creator within an environment made by someone on Roblox. That's a really good long-term, essentially dual layer strategy that gives us a lot of capability to support a wide range of creation styles. We've seen that with some experiences like Clip It, for example, was an experience on Roblox where you make short little 3D vignettes, and there are actually creators in that experience itself.
Sorry, before we move on, I have 2 wildcard questions. First, everyone in the chat wants to know, because we saw a lot of people yesterday with lots of fish in the background. What's the biggest fish you've ever caught?
Oh my gosh, you may be talking, I think it's, there's an experience that's gone really big in Indonesia.
Yes.
And we're really happy about the notion of more experiences being different in different countries rather than one experience being hot anywhere. Okay. So Fish It, literally, we were thinking about why is it big in Indonesia? We were talking in our executive meeting on Tuesday. Maybe to go big in North America, you need like a giant bass boat with a big motor.
There we go. Cultural.
Yeah, whereas Indonesia, it's a little bit more traditional fishing.
What about
So
personally? Have you ever been fishing? Have you ever caught a big fish personally?
I have been in fish it, but I've never caught a big fish.
What about in the real world?
In a big world,
No, like not in Roblox at all, but in the like on a vacation. Have you ever in the physical world caught a fish?
In the physical world, I grew up in Minnesota, and I caught one day a bunch of small little sunfish sitting in a small little boat on a lake.
Great.
There we go.
Okay,
that's something.
Second question: how have you engaged with? Do you believe in the simulation hypothesis? Are you familiar with this?
Are we so are we in a simulation?
Are we in a
If
simulation?
if we are in a simulation, are we in a simulation within a simulation?
Yes.
I have two different views of it. View one, I would sure love the answer. Can you give me the answer, please? Because knowing the answer to this
Would be really
is probably
helpful.
like that is essentially the answer to the creation of the universe, depending on what religion you are, what is God. Like that is an answer to about a million things. So I would love the answer. The other one is it's a little unfathomable to me, but we're thinking about because a computer that could simulate the universe we are in starts to be a computer that is, 100 to the 100 to the 100th power of processing and all of those types of things. And that just blows my mind anyway. So if we are in a simulation, the next layer universe that can support this simulation is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fascinating thought experiment. Absolutely wild.
I wouldn't be shocked if
Yeah.
this conversation that we're having right now is actually happening in Roblox.
Yes,
In
and
some
and,
dimension
and in the
of
multiverse.
Roblox, and it's just it's a simulation itself.
On something
We
much more
are-
tractable.
Actually, in the next layer universe, Roblox has been very successful.
Yeah.
And we don't even know it, but we are in the next layers Roblox hanging out right now.
I believe it. On something way more tractable, vibe coding for Roblox games. Is that a separate company? Is that features that you'll build? Does this already exist? Or is like the ability to generate a website or the ability to like vibe code generally is just remarkable. It's lowering the barrier to entry on designing mobile apps and designing websites. I imagine that the floor is going to go even lower on what it takes to build a game in Roblox. What are you seeing?
I think vibe coding is maybe an intermediate step to what we would call real-time 3D or four-dimensional dreaming with other players, which is literally you and I are walking around an environment, talking or doing things, and as we're chatting, over there, a 3D experience or game or object appears. So I think there's something even further than vibe creating a Roblox experience, which is how do we support in a Roblox experience a command line where you can basically ask for anything with a friend and you'll see it pop up, whether it's a game or an object or a piece of clothing.
Jordy? We can talk about AI build out. I'm always fascinated by that.
Yeah, I wonder. I guess
is that affecting you at all? I mean, we talked a little bit about
as someone who's
decisions.
developed and manages data centers. Like, how have you been processing the broader AI build out and some of the timelines that some of these projects are happening?
Yeah,
I would say, the good news is I feel for Roblox, very early on, we started with a build our own data center philosophy, both core and edge data centers. We have data centers all over the world, in Brazil, in Singapore, in Poland. And when we hit these big numbers, like 45 million concurrency, we're being able to do that at a reasonable cost because we've done that. We are building out our GPU fleet as well. We already, as I said, have 400 models running, and we'll do that in the exact same thing we do with our core and edge data centers, run the majority of the time on our own bare metal, complement it with burst at peak times to give essentially the optimal cost and reliability.
Okay, maybe take me through like the first big I'm going to buy a data center moment What was that like emotionally? Were you using debt for the first time in the company? Were you nervous, or was it just like, yeah, of course I'm financing it. It's like I'm buying a house. Like psychologically, as a CEO, of a steward of capital, there's now someone coming in potentially higher in the capital stack. How'd you finance it? What were you thinking?
The good news is we generate a fair amount of cash, and we've always generated cash. So
Yes. Paid for it in cash. He bought his house in cash.
So we actually tend to buy a lot of things with cash. I think if you look at our balance sheet, you'll see billions and billions of cash and $1 billion of debt we raised a few years ago. So far we haven't gone heavily down that financing route. We build data centers and they last for 3, 4, 5 years, whatever the depreciation cycle is. We're going to continue to do that. And I don't think, we're getting near having to borrow. A lot of the data centers we build, we buy capacity and then put our own hardware and bandwidth in together. We'll continue that. We tend to build in many, many locations rather than all at the same place.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
When we've seen CEOs out there planning for 6 or 7 year depreciation schedules, you said 3, 4, 5. Do you think they're potentially being a little too generous? Not singling out any specific company, but I'm curious how you're planning with your GPU fleet around depreciation.
Yeah, I know we optimize the length, and don't quote me. We should look up exactly what our depreciation is for CPU fleets.
Yeah.
I do think CPUs are generally aging better than GPUs. So I think it's worth taking a look at the speed of GPU development versus CPU development, and we may see those things end up in slightly different places.
Yeah, a lot of that just comes from if CPUs are increasing 2% a year and GPUs are increasing 20% a year.
That's exactly right.
You're just going to be way
It's
less.
worth thinking about for $1,000 what kind of GPU I'm going to buy in 7 years. There's a chance it's faster.
Yep. Like there's a chance.
Just a small chance.
Wow. Hot take of the century. I love that. Thank you. This is so much
internally with the team, like what are like how would you kind of describe some of the messaging? I mean, we're in such an insane market right now. Roblox went public in 2021 during the peak of ZERP, had to navigate through quite a lot over the last few years, and now we're in, it feels like an even more volatile, unpredictable market. With the team, are the conversations like, hey, let's kind of zoom out and kind of look at, you started the company in 2004, so you've seen a few cycles by now, but how have you been leading through this year?
I think earlier what I said is, we couldn't predict if all we did was keep the lights on, what the growth curve is. I do feel we treat the business as if we have to be innovating at maximum velocity constantly. And we can imagine this spec, and we can imagine what our product would be like with some of the things I mentioned earlier. And we do also think there's a future for massive innovation in 3D communication relative to the gaming market and beyond. So we have our heads down, building stuff, shipping stuff all the time. We focus a lot on how we've organized the company. We have, it's almost as if Roblox is 8 or 9 companies within a company, given the breadth of our tech stack. I mean, we are an economy, an AI company, an infrastructure company, a game engine in the cloud company, search and discovery, user social graph company. So we have great leaders across that. And in each one, we have enormous innovations we're trying to bring to market.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Great to hang out.
Great to be here.
Congratulations to the whole team.
Congratulations. And congratulations.
Hey, congratulations to you and the model. And I love what you're doing.
Yeah, we'll talk to you
so much,
soon.
Dave.
Have a great rest of your day.
Talk soon.
Goodbye.
You're the man.
Before we bring in our next guest, let me tell you about Profound. Get your brand mentioned in ChatGPT. Reach millions of consumers who are using AI to discover new products and brands. We have Vlad Tenev from Robinhood in the Restream waiting room. Let's bring him in to the TBPN Ultradome. Vlad, how are you doing today? We'll bring him in just a minute. What else is going on in the timeline? Andreessen Horowitz announced an A16Z New Media Fellowship. Eric Tornberg has the story.
Neo Media.
As many... No, new, not Neo. These are different things. We described this. We worked through this. Or as many people are saying, the Teal Fellowship for the terminally online. Finding highly functional people who are also very online is hard, so we're creating a fellowship for them. Tyler had a hot take on it. What did you say? What was your New Media Fellowship question?
It was like the riff on the Teal question.
Yeah,
it's like,
it was
who are your mutuals that are like
that no one else has mutuals
yeah.
with or something like that. Anyway, congratulations to everyone over at A16Z on the New Media Fellowship. And let's bring in Vlad Tenev from Robinhood. How you doing, Vlad? Good to see you.
What's up, John? How you doing, Jordy?
This is amazing.
Good to see you. You always impress with
the camera quality is fantastic.
Camera quality.
I also love it because last time you were a little bit further away from the camera and you're getting closer. And
this is good.
And in 10 years, when we're interviewing you for the 50th time, you're going to be right up
eyes.
You're going to be in the studio, actually. Yeah, maybe just be in person. Just come to LA. The next time you're in Hollywood, please, you're welcome. But anyway, let's get to what's new in your world. Take us through what's top of mind. There's a lot going on, but break it down.
Let's see. We did our earnings yesterday, and earnings was incredibly strong. Great. Basically, just relentless product velocity continuing, leading to just increased market share across all assets. Great. You have all of the blue chip assets that we've had for a long time, equities, options, crypto. But then prediction markets have just been ripping. Okay. You know, we've been doubling every quarter over quarter since we launched just about a year ago. Yeah. And so far in October's been bigger than all of Q3 put together. Yeah. Wow. And we started at the beginning of Q3, we had 9 business lines that generated 100 million plus of annual revenue.
Get the gong.
Now we have 11.
They have 11 now, right here.
So
we're hitting the gong for 11 9-figure revenue business lines.
Amazing.
I love that you guys also have a gong. I have one. Not with me, but
take me through what are the second order readings on how your business is doing? Like, there's one read where I could say, okay, if Robinhood's doing well, that means the market's booming. Maybe there's higher volatility, so people are trading in and out. There's a general trend of people trading maybe more on their app or more on their phone. There's younger people getting into the market. There's all sorts of different reads. Like, did you learn anything this quarter about the trend of how Americans are participating in the economy broadly? Are there any lessons that stuck out?
I mean, I think that you're right. I think we also get this question of like how much of your success is driven by the broader market, right? Yeah. That's why we try not to dilute ourselves and get too confident when volumes are going up. Yeah. And we also try not to beat ourselves too bad if volumes are going down in the broader market. Yeah. We really look at market share, and we published these numbers. It's in the slide deck on earnings. Market share growing across pretty much all of the assets.
Because there is just a very old legacy infrastructure of we've all seen Wolf of Wall Street. Like, there's the stockbroker that calls you. That's probably going out of fashion, and you're kind of eating that dinosaur one bite at a time probably. But that's the part that people don't necessarily see because they're familiar with you and the company and the product. But you are taking market share every single quarter probably, something like that.
And we're still very small, actually, in the grand scheme of things. Like, we have a third of $1 trillion of assets on the platform, which sounds like a big number, but there's going to be 120 plus trillion in assets handed down from older generations to younger over the next few decades.
How many?
I call that the great wealth transfer.
What was the number?
120 trillion plus in the great wealth transfer. So
that's wild.
Robinhood currently is like less than 1/3% of that. I think we've got a lot of room to run. Yeah. And if you're a young person in this country, millennial, Gen Z, soon to be Gen Alpha, you don't really want to do your finances at a brick and mortar store. You don't want to call someone on the phone. I mean, you'd like to have someone available if you do want that, but these are digitally savvy, digitally native people that are comfortable doing everything on the smartphone. So what they care most about is having great technology. Yeah. And I think Robinhood has a real shot at being not just your primary, but also your secondary financial account. We want to be both. So we're just marching along on that vision.
Talk to me about how research is changing. I had this interesting, Jordy and I have been joking about we want to get into buying a lot of land. I went to ChatGPT and I said, how can I buy land, whether I have $100 or $1 million? What are the options? What's the most underlying asset that's maybe in an ETF or a REIT? And it gave me some options. And I feel like this idea of people coming up with investment theses from listening to stuff, but not necessarily getting like a specific ticker or a specific portfolio. And then they want to go and construct that and actually build something that expresses their belief. Maybe they believe in America and they want to express it that way. How do you think research is changing and actually surfacing the assets in more of a conversational way? Maybe there's AI in there, but how are you thinking about research changing?
I think one of the things we're seeing is it's becoming more granular, and a lot of people thought that it wouldn't happen necessarily in this way. You know, for a while the trend was really toward indexing, and ETFs as a new product got adoption. They started getting tons of assets. When we were first starting Robinhood, we were kind of moving in a different direction, and there was some skepticism from investors who thought that everything was just going to be indexed and indirect, and it would just be people investing in broad market indices and diversified funds. And we made a bet in the other direction that, in fact, no, people want to move away from indexes. They actually want to express their viewpoints more precisely. And so you're seeing more granular investments, individual equities, but not just individual equities. You're seeing options trading, the rise of zero-day options, same-day expiry. And I think prediction markets are a continuation of that, because you're starting to see markets for stocks and whether they're going to outperform earnings, for example. A lot of people used to play the presidential election and have a thesis there that they would play by trading stocks or crypto, but now you can do that directly. So I think it's getting even more granular. People will have very specific theses that they understand and they have conviction on, and we're giving products for them to express that. And on the land side, that's super interesting, because I would bucket that under alternatives, right?
Yeah.
Like, people want access to alternatives. The only way to have access to alternatives right now is through REITs or these diversified indices. But what people really want is to invest in an individual private company as easily as they can invest in a public stock. And maybe they want an individual piece of land or a property in a neighborhood that they think is going to do well, rather than just some like commercial real estate fund that has a portfolio everywhere, because they can better understand whether that's going to go up or down. And I think we're moving in that direction. Tokenization is solving a lot of the technical problems with that. And of course, there's regulatory hurdles that once we get through, I think will open up lots of alternative assets to retail investors.
Yeah.
What companies and CEOs do you think do the best job at shareholder engagement, and what do you think are best practices around shareholder engagement today? I think I would point out like you guys as a company that does this incredibly well. I think part of your strategy is maybe like, let's do what we want other companies to do, right? Because if the better that management teams get and companies get at having and building relationships with shareholders, the better experience it is to be a shareholder. But what have been your kind of inspirations that have guided your guys' strategy, and who else do you admire in the market?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a I love talking about this, because yeah, I mean, our IR team, Chris Cagle, who leads IR from us, has been getting a lot of calls. I think he's become a little bit of a luminary in the how to engage retail shareholders using traditionally kind of like boring forums like earnings. And we've been on a journey ourselves. I remember watching our earnings call a year ago, and like many people, I go on YouTube and I see, let's see who's talking about our earnings. And there were actually groups of influencers that watch our earnings live and kind of talk about it. And I sat through the experience, and they were looking at, for a long time, just a slide deck with our logo in there. It wasn't even the new brand of our logo, it was the old one. And then it's just like, you know, we were on a Polycom, the analysts were on the call, nobody knew whose turn it was to talk. It was a bad experience. And we started just by wanting to clean that up. So we did our first video earnings call 3 quarters ago. And every quarter, we've been thinking about how can we do a little bit more. And if you view it from the perspective of a retail shareholder, it can't just be we're reading scripts of information. It has to be engaging. And so it's video. It's getting more stakeholders that can ask good questions live on video if possible, asking those questions in real time. And, you know, you guys have figured it out in your forum. I think that what earnings is a community event, and you should think about it as such. And I think the best CEOs, the best companies who really care about engaging retail have to move from thinking about it as a chore to actually one more event where you can get your brand and what you stand for out to as many of your stakeholders and community members as possible. We were
it's like
inspired
thinking
by
about it like
Palantir.
about it like a product. Like if you think about like the earnings call is like a product launch where the customer is the shareholder. Like, you know, most companies today, their earnings calls and the way they treat earnings does not reflect that at all. And it's such a relatively small investment compared to just operating the company at large for potentially a much better experience. But you were talking about Palantir.
Yeah. I mean, what I'll tell you is we're helping companies. Whenever someone comes up to us and asks us how can we improve earnings, we always want to help. Like, I win if more and more retail access the markets and more companies treat retail as first-class citizens. So we're more aligned there. And we have products. We've got Say Technologies, which offers shareholder Q&A to retail. And we're actually piloting a program where, you know, we live stream our own earnings in our app, and we'd like to make that available to other companies. So Open Door, after the close today, is the first company outside of Robinhood that's streaming their earnings live on video via our app. So I think, and we've gotten a lot of companies asking us if they can do that, and we can put together a whole bunch of things that really center around how to make the experience really engaging.
On the topic of retail generally, how are conversations going around IPO allocations? I know in the past you've been very loud about getting more and more allocation for, you know, not even just Robinhood users, but retail broadly. What's the update there?
Yeah, so when we launched IPO Access, which is our product for getting retail exposure to IPOs, it was 2021, and we did it in advance of our own IPO. But we always wanted to make it more broadly available. At first, people were skeptical. You know, CEOs and their bankers would try to talk them out of it more often than not. They would ask, why am I doing this new thing? I should just focus on running my business and get my bankers to, you know, tell me what to do for my IPO. And there was not very much incentive to do things differently. So we really had to like claw and scratch and ask for favors to get retail allocations and IPOs back then. Then the IPO window shut for many years. But when it reopened, it's been a huge change. Now, basically every single company comes and asks us about their retail strategy because they've seen what happens in the public markets to companies that engage retail effectively. And so allocations have been generally going up. Retail's more engaged. CEOs are talking about how, you know, they're giving bigger and bigger allocations. You guys probably saw Bullish, which was after Figma. You know, Bullish CEO came out, gave retail a huge allocation, 20% of his deal. 10% of that went to Robinhood.
Wow.
And that used to be considered a crazy number. I mean, when we gave retail allocation of 25% in our IPO, people kind of understood because it's your Robinhood. But the idea of any company doing that seemed outlandish. So we're doubling down on that. I think it's clear to companies what we bring to the table, which in many cases, the demand on the Robinhood platform for retail shareholders is larger than the total amount they're raising, which has been a huge thing. We can give them all sorts of information about the demand curve and how much retail wants at any given price, which is very valuable. So we're building out that business. We're also going earlier stage. We want to give retail access to companies before they go public. And in the US, we've got Robinhood Ventures, which is our big initiative towards that vision.
What? How much can you share on Robinhood Ventures specifically, and how that will enable more retail access to privates?
Well, I could tell you it's a closed-end fund, and it's going to be a diversified vehicle for non-accredited, and it'll be like closed-end funds traded on an exchange.
Got it.
So when we looked at what kind of vehicle retail would want to invest in, we knew that it had to be liquid. Most people don't like their money being tied up. We knew they wanted high-quality names, and ideally people would want it to be individual names, but that's not easy to do for unaccredited and with liquidity. But I think we're moving in that direction. So we're in the quiet period where we're moving towards an IPO of this fund, and I think it's just a big step towards our vision of being the go-to place for investing, whether it be public company or privates.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot lately about the challenge right now that the big labs are going through, where there's such a relatively small number of people, individuals, and funds that are even these cap tables have swollen, but they don't have a lot of public support. We've seen when they go through kind of rocky periods in the same way that if Tesla, for example, has a bad quarter, there's an army of people that are saying, this is just a blip. We're riding, et cetera.
Everyone wants to know about prediction markets. How are you thinking about partnering on other products? I mean, I remember when Robinhood launched Bitcoin, it was I don't believe it was in partnership with anyone under the hood, but actually I don't remember. So how do you think about partnerships, prediction markets, Kalshi, where everything is going there, and how you got to this particular place?
Even did you predict how quickly prediction markets would grow? I mean,
that's a great question.
In a year, they've gone from being like something that felt like it was just like something that online people talked about and believed in the potential in. But
it was a presidential tracker.
Exactly,
that's what it was.
Exactly, we went from a presidential tracker to mainstream in a year.
So yeah, let's talk through this.
Yeah, I mean. I think that initially, before the presidential election last year, prediction markets were part of our 2026 plan. And we were planning on offering futures outrights, like, oil and gold and all the standard futures contracts. And we thought, well, prediction markets could be a way to make it a little bit more mainstream, but they haven't really worked in the past. But then there was something that happened that changed everything. And it was the Supreme Court decision allowing presidential prediction markets. And we jumped on that. As soon as that result came out, we were about a month before the presidential election. We reorganized our roadmap. We launched the presidential election market in advance of futures outrights. And that did about 500 million contracts in 1 week, which is a big business, particularly week one in. And then that's followed with the Super Bowl, which we had to pull back. But then we relaunched sports with March Madness, and it's just been on a tear ever since. And I think the story is people thought of it as an election-only thing, but prediction markets are much broader. We now have over 1,000 contracts on the platform, and in the same way that options trades in 0 days allow traders to express a more granular viewpoint, prediction markets do the same, but they have this other added benefit that they're a source of news and information. So even if you don't want to trade, if you want to know about what's happening or what's likely to happen with a sports event or a political event or an election, you're going to those prediction markets as a more accurate source of information, in many cases more accurate than polls.
Yeah. How do you think about the shape of the team at Robinhood that will work on prediction markets? Is it fundamentally a different legal structure or financial team? Like, do you have like a desk market making or different market making partners, or is it a different technology? Because I imagine on a lot of the crypto stuff, you need developers who understand how to write smart contracts at a certain level. Are prediction markets any different from other products? Are they fundamentally different, or is it somewhat similar to what you've already been doing?
It's pretty similar to what we're doing. I mean, they're CFTC regulated event contracts. And so it's under the same license that we use to offer futures. If you think about it, you've got market data coming in, and the trades go on an exchange. Right now, we partner with two, Kalshi and ForecastX.
Okay.
And market makers plug into those exchanges to provide liquidity.
Sure.
From a risk management perspective, in some ways, the contracts are even simpler instruments than options and futures. There's no leverage, for instance, that poses more complicated risk management challenges.
Got it.
But we are investing a lot. I mean, from a product and design standpoint, I know there's a lot more that we can do. And if you're paying attention to the Robinhood product, it's changing on a weekly basis.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
How do you, what's the framework for prioritizing new product lines? You've now gone from very rarely do companies create a $100 million revenue business and create a second $100 million revenue business. And even more rare is to go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So now you guys have built the muscle to take new products from 0 to 1. I'm sure that, but at the same time, the story of Robinhood is like focus and delivering, great customer client experiences. So I'm curious what the framework is, what justifies net new investment when you're already at this massive scale, and it's hard to when you have these products that have insane product market fit, you have this incoming wealth transfer that I'm sure a lot of that will flow to Robinhood and other new players. But what qualifies something as worthy of real investment?
Yeah, I mean, I think the North Star is really how do we become your financial super app? How can we get all of your finances done on Robinhood and make it so that you don't have to leave? And the reason that's our goal, by the way, I think it's not obvious because a lot of companies have found great success just going super deep and finding a narrow niche. And, we don't aim to just be the best prediction markets platform, right? We want to be the home for all of your money, your primary and secondary financial account. And the reason is we found that fundamentally, customers love the simplicity of having all of their money and all of their financial accounts in one place. And there's advantages to that too, because if we can handle all of your finances and offer you all of these products, then we can actually take a cut. We can take a hit on the economics for each one, knowing that in aggregate, the relationship and the average revenue per user is still going to be a big number. So we can operate each one of them at lower margins by virtue of offering more of these. And, you ask our GMs, you ask Johan what the best, Johan's our crypto leader, what's the best Robinhood feature? What's his favorite one? He'd point to the brokerage business because one of the main advantages of having your crypto on Robinhood is you can easily sell your crypto, buy an equity, even over the weekend. And we're the only platform that allows you to trade these things in one place. You get prediction markets, you get crypto, options, futures, equities, all using uniform KYC, great funding rails that make it easy to move money in and out. We've got a great credit card, and banking's rolling out. And because we have all these other products and sources of revenue, we can be super competitive on our banking offering too. I mean, early reads from customers that are testing it out is that they love earning a competitive rate on checking, for example. Most banks don't give you anything on checking and they make it hard for you. They say, okay, well, checking is just for moving money in and out. Savings is where you put money if you want to earn interest. Of course, they don't pay much interest in savings either, but that's beside the point. The reason is they have to earn money somewhere, and checking is like the most simple, straightforward way. So I think it allows us to break that model a little bit more and offer more differentiated value across all products.
Makes total sense. Recently, we've seen a number of both public and private companies doing layoffs, and a lot of the messaging they use around that is around how much efficiency they're getting out of AI. Our theory, or my theory personally, is that a lot of these management teams need a good answer for why they're doing a layoff, and saying we're getting efficiency out of AI is one of those. How much do you think that's real, or do you think a lot of these companies are getting so much efficiency that layoffs are justified purely on the capabilities of AI today?
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen that chart on social media that it has like ChatGPT launched in September of 2022, and then S&P goes up and job openings go down, right?
Yeah, totally.
And ChatGPT is a great product, but it is not replace. We run a company that does research and creates content, which ChatGPT is great at, and we have not been able to replace anybody. We're still like hungry to hire people, and so in our view, even though we're getting leverage out of it,
it's been an incredible tool. Like
it's
Google's.
An incredible tool, but it's not.
It hasn't been replacing
causing us to lay off, and it's not causing us to hire any less.
It's been SaaS.
Yeah.
I mean, what I tell you is that chart is interesting, right? Because the time that ChatGPT launched also coincides with the time in like startup history where companies were starting to get fit, right?
Yeah.
So
and interest rates were going through the roof.
Interest rates were going up, but you had Elon taking over Twitter, and then you started seeing lots and lots of companies doing layoffs. Meta started doing them. Even Alphabet, Google did one, which it went from being this taboo topic where almost if you were doing it, it was a sign of your company failing, into everyone's doing it. So it had like this mimetic quality to it. So I think there's an element of that. I don't think it's just AI. But I do think AI has significant impact. I mean, we really felt it ourselves. So we focus on AI across the business, but with a particular emphasis on engineering and customer support. So we track, for example, on customer support, one of the top metrics is AI deflection rate. What percentage of tickets that would have come in anyway are now being handled by AI agents? And on the engineering side, we track what percentage of code is generated by AI and the average amount of code that engineers contribute on a monthly basis. And what we've seen is there's real progress. I mean, we had an infrastructure issue that affected our AI chatbots a couple of weeks ago, and we saw an immediate influx. The phone started ringing like crazy during that time period.
Yeah.
So it felt very theoretical at first, like maybe you're just seeing these numbers go up, but do you really know the impact? But
yeah,
there's
saying that we're getting value in engineering and customer experience is like that's like pragmatic and very real. That to me is the places that companies are getting leverage at scale. That's like undeniable. It's when people do a layoff and they're laying off 10,000 people, like, and they're not necessarily engineers or customer support reps. That's when I go like, okay, what were they doing, and how is AI kind of replacing their work? Or maybe they just weren't providing that much value, and that's why the layoffs happened.
I completely agree that it's a very effective smokescreen because it makes you seem. You could argue that it makes the company seem better, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they're really front foot on AI. So anytime there's an opportunity like that, you should assume there's an incentive for companies to over embellish what's happening.
Absolutely.
At the end of every interview, we ask you about Harmonic. Now, I'd love to know if there's any sort of change in your thinking. We were just talking to Brett Taylor, and he was saying that one of his predictions is that we might have AI that can do advanced science and novel math, but still not really requires a whole bunch of harnessing to just, answer a service ticket effectively. And, his business will continue while AI is doing advanced math. He kind of laid out a bull case for both Harmonic and Sierra coexisting, which in the singularity didn't really make sense for a while, but now I think people are wrapping their minds around it. Have there been any updates to your thinking about AGI, superintelligence, just how tractable attacking science with AI is? Are we on a decade-long fight for this, or do we think we're going to be making breakthroughs sooner? Just how's your thinking about mathematical AI?
Yeah, I think that it's for sure happening. And I'm sure your guys' X feeds are a little bit different than mine. I follow all the math researchers.
Sure.
And what you've seen happening over the past couple of months in particular is mathematicians who are maybe professors at top universities. There's a UCLA professor, Ernest Ryu, for example, who published a thread. It was pretty, it went somewhat viral, where he's like, hey, I used AI to actually prove this new result that didn't exist before. And, it was a little clunky. I had to go back and forth with the AI. Some of the ideas didn't make sense, but there was this one idea that it had that actually ended up being true. And then we followed up with our Harmonic API and formalized his result. So
interesting.
We formalized it so that the machine actually validated its correctness.
Yeah.
But you're starting to see this happening. And I think at first it's going to be in these kind of obscure small results, like a Erdos problem or a little challenge here and there. But you could see that just like the length of autonomous tasks increases over time, the complexity of mathematical proofs is going to increase over time as well. So we're on the path, and a lot of people predicted it, but there was skepticism about, can it do anything new? We're 100% going to get novel mathematical results that are significant.
Yeah.
And what Harmonic can do with our API is make it so that when you have 1,000+ pages of AI generated mathematical proofs, it doesn't take a team of 10 mathematicians 4 years to validate the result.
Yeah.
Verification is going to be the bottleneck, and you're just going to want the machine to take care of that as well.
You mentioned
And
the
I think
API.
that's what the future is.
Yeah, you mentioned the API. Is there a world where mathematicians need a cursor for math on top? Is there an opportunity for you to do sort of a co-pilot or an application layer product on top of the API just to increase and get into the Centaur era of the mathematicians day to day? What does enhancing their productivity look like if you're not just one-shotting every math problem, but you're actually working collaboratively alongside a mathematician?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, what we're building right now is very close to a Claude code for math.
Yeah.
And if you think about a lot of mathematicians that are using Lean, which is the formal theorem prover, it's a programming language that is useful for math. They're not working on a chalkboard and chalk anymore. They're in VS Code, which Cursor is basically a fork of VS Code. So mathematics and computer programming are converging into one. And it's pretty amazing for me as a former mathematician, because people thought that math was nowhere close to being computerized in any real way. For a while, the big challenge was, how do I type my math formulas so that I can actually save them to a PDF?
Sure.
And we figured that out, but now real mathematics work is being done on computer for, I think, the first time in history.
Everything is computer.
Everything is computer.
Yeah.
You know what's not computer? Our last question, which is a very silly question, but everyone wants us to ask. What is the biggest fish you've ever caught? Have you been fishing? We want to know if you've caught any fish, and if so, what's the biggest fish that you've caught?
Let's see. My brother-in-law and I love going fly fishing in Montana. We've done some fly fishing on the Blackfoot River down there, and I'd have to say I'm not as good as him. I've caught trouts of all kinds.
Great.
Rainbow trout, bull trout.
Not
Yeah.
this big. Yeah, trout.
Maybe a little bit bigger.
Okay. There you
We're
go.
off the
I had some
screen. We're off the
difficulty.
screen. We're off the screen. That's good. That's good.
I had some difficulty curling the trout, so it must have been at least 50, 60 pounds.
Okay.
Wow, there you
that's
go.
pretty big. There we go.
Air horn.
Well,
for
thank
that
you
trout.
for playing along with the silly fishing question. But we somehow got on fishing yesterday, and
That's our
we
new-
promised that we would
new-
ask
new
all of our
question.
guests what the biggest fish they've ever caught was. But thank you so much for
Awesome.
taking the time to come
Great
chat
to
with
get
us.
the update.
Always a great time.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen. Fun hanging out with you.
Have
Talk
a great
soon.
one.
See
Have a
ya.
great rest of your day. Quickly, let me tell you about Linear. Linear is a purpose-built tool for planning and building products. Meet the system for modern software development, streamline issues, projects, and product roadmaps.
Up next, we have Yuri from Overwolf. Overwolf is the leading platform for in-game creators with over 1,500 supported games, 178,000 creators, and 113 monthly active users. Overwolf enables creators to build, distribute, and monetize in-game apps, mods, and private
He's in
game
the
servers.
Restream waiting room. Let's bring him in the
Let's bring
TBPN
him in.
Ultra Dome. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? What is your background? What is this beautiful office you're in? I'm fascinated by this.
No, it's basically something like halfway through COVID.
Yeah.
I just could not work anymore from the house. So in our backyard, we built this wooden shed.
No
so
way.
this is it. This is like my small man cave.
This is amazing. And you have
the house.
you have power and air conditioning in there, I assume?
Yeah. I mean, you have to have air conditioning for sure.
Okay.
So power air conditioning.
I need this yesterday. I'm going to email you right after the show and get you to tell me exactly what happened because I truly am in the market. Anyway, we're not here to talk about cool backyard offices. We're here to talk about your business. Please give us a state of the union and give us any updates on how you're explaining the business, where it fits into the video game economy, and then how the business has grown recently because it's an absolute monster.
Sure. So we're the Guild for In-Game Creators. And the way we think about our business is our responsibility in the world is we build a new profession. We call this profession in-game creators. And in-game creators are developers, software developers who are building apps or mods or private servers or websites around existing games and making a living building those products. For game studios that want to enhance their games with UGC, but don't want to go through the whole kind of length of building something like a Roblox or like a UEFN on Fortnite, we're an engine that allows them to do that. So, if Unity is an engine.
Sorry, on Fortnite, UEFN?
Sure. So Roblox, I'm assuming, folks understand how Roblox works and the ecosystem and everything, and maybe have heard Dave earlier today.
Yeah.
UEFN is like the creator program for Fortnite. So everyone knows Fortnite, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to build your own Fortnite experience, you could go to UEFN. This is the engine, and you can build like your own Fortnite experience.
Yep.
Make sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
So what we do is we do that kind of same thing, but horizontally. So I'm assuming most people know about Unity or Unreal, the game engine. So if you want to build a game cross-platform, you could go use Unreal or Unity to build a game. You could use us as a platform to horizontally power these games with UGC. So this is what we're about.
Where are the walls of the garden? I feel like
Walls of the garden.
Every big platform has somewhat of an incentive to throw up walls, and this came up during the NFT boom, where a lot of people were pitching like, oh well, like you'll be able to take your like your custom skin in Roblox and bring it over to Fortnite.
Right.
And whenever was somebody was pitching that, I was just like, no, they won't. That makes no sense.
I agree with
They have
you.
no incentives. But I feel like you've been able to build a business that is somewhat cross-platform. But there's probably places where the big game engine developers and the big platforms kind of don't want you playing. So how do you think about, do you actually like call people up and just say, hey, can we do this? Or do you understand the economics? Like, how do you think about where okay, don't dip your toe in that particular walled garden because company X wants to own that experience from start to finish?
Right. So the gist is we respect the rights of the IP owners, and we want to make sure that we're communicating with game studios, that we're sharing with them what's done in their ecosystem. If they want to go deep and they want to partner and they want to integrate our code within their game, they could do that. this would make modding available on Xbox and PlayStation, not just PC.
Sure.
But if they don't and they prefer to kind of keep an arm's length and just be aware of what's happening, that works for us as well. So I think the key is indeed respect the walled gardens. And what we're seeing, I think, with time is this evolution of, a decade ago or 15 years ago, it was like not too many studios were open to folks creating content around their games. And now it sort of gradually becomes the new standard. And you have massive IPs like Harry Potter who are all of a sudden open to UGC with all its risks, right? You would think one of the biggest IPs in the world, probably pretty risky to allow creators to do whatever they want. But if you provide an environment that's safe, that does moderation, curation, make sure that the content is consistent with what the IP owner had in mind, you can have wonderful things happen. So the gist is we stick with the game developers, have conversations, and make sure that the community supports them with whatever goals they have and their perception of the world.
How are you measuring impact of the business? Obviously, run sort of a two-sided economy. What are the key metrics these days?
So we have one North Star, which is greater payouts.
Yeah.
The reason we chose that North Star is we're building a new profession, so it kind of makes sense. We want to make this whole thing sustainable, but because we're UGC and we're freemium, so it's all like free to play pretty much. If there's no money, there's no quality, there's no product market fit, there's no retention, there's really nothing. So our one core KPI is greater payouts, and that's the key one. Obviously, we look at a bunch of other things, but this is the main one.
How many people globally have a full-time job, contributing to video game economy, as in like independent developers or small teams that do this full-time?
You mean in the UGC space or just in general? Do you want to count Roblox and UEFN or game studios?
I guess globally, and then if you can kind of separate it out between, and all the different kind of categories that you just laid out.
All right, so let's do a bottoms-up analysis with the different categories. So obviously, we have studios and publishers. Let's put them in one category.
Yeah.
And this includes the Blizzards and EAs, but also the smaller indie studios that would then go ahead and distribute their game on Steam or on one of the mobile platforms. So I'd say this is one category of folks making a living in the video games industry. I'd say the second category is called the UGC creators, and this includes Roblox developers, UEFN developers, UEFN, the Fortnite example that we've just given, and also folks that are creating with us. I'd say this is the second category. People who are not necessarily building the fundamentals of the game, but they're enhancing an existing game or an existing ecosystem. Now, obviously, there are a lot of service providers, like studios that would do work for hire or would help with QA or would help with localization. So this would fall into the service providers category. And then I would go to infrastructure. So you have folks like, again, Unity or Unreal or an engine like, SpeedTree that is doing planting and shadows and I don't know, like a bunch of tooling in the ecosystem. And then you have the go-to-market, right? We have influencers. You have a lot of folks just doing, say, Minecraft content on YouTube, and they make a living off of that. So I don't know off the top of my head what the number of people who are doing that and make a living.
But it feels like the kind of best possible time if you love video games. You can just live anywhere in the world, and probably if you try hard enough, you can make a living kind of contributing to these different ecosystems.
Yeah, but I do want to emphasize it's, just like on YouTube, there's a small percentage of creators who are actually making a living building content.
Yeah, same
it's
dynamic.
The same thing across the board. Yeah, it's very easy to enter, like a Roblox and start creating. But, there's only a small percentage of folks that are actually successful and have recurring success and can make a living doing that. And we're seeing that too within our own ecosystem.
How much have you actually paid out to creators?
So to date, it's in the neighborhood of 800 million. With the last 12 months, so 25, it's 300 million.
Wow.
Wow, we got a gong to hit for you. Those are that's an insane number.
That's fantastic.
By the way, another thing I want to emphasize is We started back in 2010, so I'd appreciate an overnight success.
Oh, yeah.
By Ms. Ross. Yes.
Remarkable.
That's wild.
Yeah, and 150
wild.
million
How
raised
big? How
to
big's the
date.
team?
It's like 240 now.
240.
Yep.
Wow.
Global.
Well, congratulations. I mean, what a remarkable company. Very exciting.
Yeah. What is you've been at it now for what, over 15 years, something like that.
Yeah.
What is people ask us all the time, what's the future of TBPN? And we're like, more of this. But I'm curious what your answer is.
I started this company when I graduated from computer science, and I started as a modder. Like, our strategy was not platform when we started. We were basically modders building both the engine and the content ourselves, and we weren't successful. Like, mid 2013, we ran out of money and we had to figure out what to do. And only at that point we pivoted and we've committed to just building the engine and becoming a tools and services company versus building both the mods and the engine to build this. And I feel very fortunate, waking up in the morning and knowing that there are people like Sandy in San Diego making a living building mods, and we're a big part of that and enabling that. I feel like that's a life worth living for. So what's next is just more of this. Our target is we want to get to $1 billion for creators a year.
Yeah.
But when we get to that, it's not like the KPI is going to change. It's probably going to be, all right, let's do 1.5 or maybe 2, or like, how else can we contribute to creators? This is sort of what juices us up in the morning. This is what we intend to continue doing.
It's awesome.
Last question, because we didn't follow it super closely. What's going on in Counter-Strike world, and what's kind of the takeaways there? I know they made some changes to their in-game economy, and a lot of people were pissed off, but I don't know a lot more than that.
So you're right. There's a huge skin community around CSGO, Counter-Strike. I guess the challenge is, and we're sometimes seeing this with studios, they make their own decisions based on what they think is right and based on what they think is right for the game. And once they make a change to the economy, obviously a lot of people lose a ton of value from their skins, and as a result, they lose a lot of money. I'd say that in advance, Valve did not provide any guarantees that this is a thing that should happen. I don't know if they've intended for skin trading to kind of be as big as it was, and they had to make a decision to change. And sometimes as people creating in the ecosystem or working around the ecosystem, we're like at the mercy of the IP owners, and at the end of the day, the IP owners have the right to do that. I don't know exactly what were the reasons behind the change, but those are some pretty smart people. I'm sure they had their good reasons.
That makes sense.
I'm checking the price of my M4A4 skin on CSGOskins.com. I think I'm down bad. I don't know. But I did buy it over a decade ago, and it brought me a lot of joy when I played CSGO back in the day.
Priceless.
And I haven't logged in 5 years or 10 years. So I think that I'm happy. I see it as a tip. When I bought it, I saw it as a tip. I was like, this game's free. I play it a ton. I'm happy to throw some money in. I understand that people do take it way more seriously, and they even build whole businesses around it. And so, there's a lot that goes on there. But for me, I feel like even if it's worth zero, the memories will stay with me forever of holding down Dust 2 on the B bomb site. It's good times. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Great to meet. Congratulations on all the milestones. Come back on when you hit $1 billion.
We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Sounds good. All right.
Cheers.
In other news, Numeral has a .com now, numeral.com, sales tax on autopilot. Spend less than 5 minutes per month on sales tax compliance. We got to hit the gong for numeral.com.
That .com is so too good.
Also,
too good.
ESPN Bet is shutting down. ESPN and Penn Entertainment's 10-year, $2 billion deal will end 8 years early after the sportsbook saw lackluster demand. ESPN is now partnering with DraftKings. The interesting thing here is that everyone draws that Walt Disney drew on the napkin, all the different interplay between everything. They didn't include gambling on there because Disney was going to get into ESPN Bet. That's what happened.
they gotta have
They
a
did
gambling.
update the Disney
Update the
chart.
market map,
Update
not
the
the
Disney market,
ecosystem
the
chart.
ecosystem chart. And also go to fin.ai, the #1 AI agent for customer service, #1 in performance benchmark, #1 in competitive bake-offs, #1 ranking on G2. Our next guest is already in the Restream waiting room. We have Alex Israel from Metropolis with some very good news. Good to see you, Alex. How are you doing?
See you again.
Welcome to the show.
Good, Jordy, John. Good to see you guys.
Thank
Glad
you
to have
so
you back.
much for hopping on the stream. Give us the news. What's going on?
Busy day here in New York. We just raised $1.6 billion.
Whoa. That is congratulations on saying the biggest number.
Said the biggest number. Congratulations.
Not easy. Not easy to do, but today you got it done.
Okay, but it's 500 million Series D equity, 1.1 billion term loan. A lot of people are getting jitters. They're asking for backstops. Well, how do you manage $1 billion in debt? Debt sounds scary. A lot of startups don't use debt. Why are you confident that debt makes sense in this world?
You know, I think for us, it's all about the success of the platform. We've just scaled to such a significant rate. We're doing now over $5 billion of payments. We have over 20 million members on our platform. It's given our scale, given our free cash flow profile. We're confident we can service the debt, and we're confident that we continue to scale into new verticals.
Do you think about matching the capital structure to the shape of the business? Is it important to have debt backed by physical assets or something? How do you think about the financial engineering that you're doing?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, for us, it's all about the lowest cost of capital, the lowest dilution with the right partners that can facilitate the strongest level of long-term sustained growth. For us, it's all about growth.
Yeah. And what are the growth levers right now? Because some people, when they want to grow, they go film a vibe reel. I imagine you're not filming $1.6 billion worth of vibe reels and trying to go viral every day. This isn't the Clearly
playbook. It's all
playbook.
about vibe coding. All we're doing is vibe coding and vibe reels.
But I honestly would imagine that $1.1 billion of debt, that's not even going towards R&D, because that's something that if there's risky R&D, you'd want to be funding that with equity. Walk through some of the growth levers that you're pulling over the next couple of years.
So I think Jordy and John, one of the last times we connected, we were pioneering the growth buyout, this idea that we could take a legacy old world business and we could acquire it directly by a traditional technology company.
Yeah.
Right now, we're pioneering something brand new, which we're qualifying as the recognition economy. This idea that we can leverage AI and computer vision in the real world to drive seamless payment and commerce experiences everywhere. And we've proven that with parking. Now we're scaling into gas stations, car wash, quick serve retail. Soon you'll see our technology moving with you from a biometrics perspective into hotels and into other environments where you can facilitate seamless access and payments.
So when you go and buy a company, obviously there's an established business, so that's accelerated. Then you're trying to use AI to accelerate growth and cut costs. How do you think about what you actually do as you build the portfolio?
So we don't really look at it from a cost-cutting perspective or a cost synergy perspective. It's all about revenue synergy.
It's all growth.
It's all about how do we drive gross profit, and it's all about how we work with our partners to drive revenue to their businesses. So it's all about revenue synergy. Everything for us is about sustained revenue growth. I think too many companies think about cost synergies. Too many private equity firms think about cost synergies and short-term gains. For us, it's all about long-term gains driven through revenue.
Do you think too many private equity firms think like that? I feel like there's a world for both. Like I've studied, like we've talked about private equity, like titans. People have been in the business for decades where their whole model is, they take a big company private, change the business model, grow it a ton, IPO it again. Then there's sort of the bottom feeders that are picking up scraps and cutting costs even more. And I don't necessarily know that every company is built to grow forever. I actually am somewhat receptive to the idea that some companies, like they've just done their job and they just kind of need to like go out to pasture and retire, and the company's retiring. And so I think that type of private equity guy gets a bad rap. But again, I'll defend every private equity guy because I love private equity. So yeah, he came on the right show.
I love private equity as well, but I think the capital markets has a natural inclination to operate within boxes.
Sure.
And once you go outside that box, once you create a model where you're actually taking a technology business and acquiring old world businesses, that doesn't fit in a traditional box. And you have to take creative investors, you have to take best in class investors like Todd Bowley, Tony Manila. You have to work with players like Aryeh Burkhoff that can think outside of the box and think how they can mitigate or create what I'd say is an asymmetric return profile. So all the downside risk mitigation of a traditional private equity play with all the upside potential of a traditional venture capital play.
I have to double click on you talked about biometric payments in retail, quick service, hotels, I think you said. Fueling. What does that actually look like in practice today? What are some of these?
Biometric payment is when you're checking out and they take a pint of your blood and they run it through a centrifuge to understand your bank account.
A little more
of a pint.
Look, think about how much of our lives we spend wasting time. Checking out at a grocery store. Think about every time you go to a meeting in New York, or waiting to get into a Class A office building, showing your ID to a stranger, giving all your privacy information over. That actually ID has your address on. Think about a future where you just belong, where you can seamlessly walk into any Class A office building. Think about a future where you go into your coffee shop and they just know what you want because you always order the same cup of coffee. So how can you leverage computer vision to create a new paradigm in privacy and reduction of fraud through leveraging biometrics? And that's exactly what we're doing.
I feel like this kind of already, you see glimpses of this in China and Japan and different.
Amazon's experimented with it. What do you think the key to success will be in terms of we have the technology now.
My question here is do we need the technology, the models to get better? Is it an implementation problem? Or is it you need to buy a series of services and just implement them effectively?
I think more than anything, you need to build trust and a dynamic with a consumer base. So right now, we're crossing 20 million members on our platform that are leveraging our technology every single day to facilitate seamless access and payment at over 4,200 locations across the United States. It's that trust, it's that empowerment, it's that seamless access that people want to come back to time and time again, so they're no longer wasting time. And if you have that network and if you have that flywheel, I think that's the core ingredient in order to scale into new verticals.
Are you on a collision course with Clear at all? The biometrics? I don't know. There's something there. The chat was asking.
No, it's a good question. I'll tell you, I think Clear has done a remarkable job at a very specific use case. And I think Karen and their team have built a remarkable product. And I think that we're very focused on mobility right now as it pertains to gas stations, car wash, quick serve retail, parking, anytime a transaction is facilitated in a vehicle, and then we're moving past the vehicle. But I think what that team has done is really unique as tied to identity, and we're scaling into additional and differentiated verticals.
Differentiated verticals.
Different problem. Very cool to think about a world where you can drive through, drive through a restaurant or just.
I like Ryan here in the chat who says, "I will make it impossible for AI to ever guess my coffee order." He's going to keep the clankers guessing different order every single day.
But a world where you can drive through a drive-through and just be like, "This is what I want," and then you just drive forward and they hand it to you, and you never have to do the whole mobile payment. You're reaching out of your car or whatever. So
imagine a world if it just could be precognitive, knew what you wanted before you ordered it. Pretty fast.
Yeah, we'll work for everyone except for Ryan in the chat. But thank you so much for joining. Massive milestone for you and the team.
See you guys in LA. Talk soon.
See you.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Cheers.
Let me tell you about Addio.com. Customer relationship magic. Addio is the AI native CRM that builds, scales, and grows your company to the next level. You can get started for free. SemiAnalysis has launched ClusterMax 2.0, the industry standard GPU cloud rating system. And the number of AI clouds has exploded. We are seeing a fast takeoff in data center construction and neo cloud development very clearly. Fascinating newsletter. 200-page document breaking down how all the different clouds fit together. They tested 209 providers. They rated 84 of those providers. They have 140 customers that they surveyed, and the article is 40,000 words. I would encourage you to go read it, sign up for semi-analysis, or tune in to TBPN on Monday because we will be interviewing the semi-analysis analyst who wrote the piece. Until then, we'll bring in our next guest, Paul from FOMO, Benchmark's latest investment.
What's happening?
How you doing, Paul? Good to meet you.
Welcome to the show.
Great to meet you guys.
Welcome to the show.
Big day.
Introduce the company. Give us the elevator pitch that you gave to Benchmark in their elevator.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's a misconception about FOMO that it's a crypto trading app. And right now, all of the assets currently available are digital assets and a lot of these attention-based assets. But the goal in the long run is to be the largest financial platform ever built natively on crypto rails. And I think that there's a rare opportunity here. The only other time I can think is the early internet where 100 years of infrastructure was created, amazing infrastructure. Everyone's trying to build on new infrastructure, but it's time for real users. And I think FOMO's building the bridge to allow for accessibility to these new markets. And so on FOMO, you could download the app, you could onboard with Apple ID in seconds, you could buy digital assets with Apple Pay, and core to the feature of FOMO is the social features. And these are uniquely enabled by on-chain. So on FOMO, you can basically have full visibility into people's balances and discover new assets in real time.
It's very interesting that the last deal that Benchmark did was Chainalysis because both of these, like, you don't have your own token yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And there's no plans for a token at this time.
There's no plans for a token. So this is something where it feels like, if I'm reading between the tea leaves, like Benchmark doesn't want necessarily the underlying exposure to a fluctuating asset. They want a business but they're interested in businesses that are built on top of crypto rails, and that's where you come in. Correct?
Yeah, I think Benchmark is just incredible builders of consumer products. And I don't think we're really thinking about the exit right now. We're trying to build a generational company. To compete with the behemoths of the industry. I think that 10 years ago, it made sense to have a centralized exchange where you have to KYC to onboard, where you have to do all these checks, where it takes 3 days to deposit from a bank account, right? But you also only have access to about 50 to 70 to 90 digital assets on most of these exchanges. On FOMO, when you download the app, you have access to millions of assets instantly. And I think this is where the future is headed. And what's beautiful is if you guys went on the app, I can go to John's profile, and I could see every trade you ever made on any asset. So right now it's mostly digital assets, but eventually you'll have equities, you'll have real world assets, you'll have prediction markets, bonds, you'll have FOMO savings accounts where users can earn on-chain yield, which is super hard to access, and everything else.
What's the pathway to equities as an example? Like, this is something a lot of people are excited about, but I'm curious, like, what the practical path is to on-chain equities. Some of they sort of exist in various ways already. Is that correct? But what I guess doing it in a way that is compliant in a regulatory environment that's kind of constantly evolving.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable that everything gets commoditized into digital assets, right? It's just the most efficient architecture for value transfer that's ever been created. So given the ability to permissionally access, the ability to hold stuff in self-custody, a lot of institutional players are starting to create equities on chain. But I think with the market structure bill and other things in Congress, and over time, you'll see more clarity on native digital asset equity issuances, right? But in the interim, it is wrapping a lot of these traditional equities on chain. Movers like Robinhood, Kraken, and a lot of these big players are putting equities on chain. And the goal is to access all of those permissionlessly in decentralized non-custodial wallets. The problem is historically that's impossible, right? It's really hard to do these things. If you want to onboard to any of these AMMs or these on-chain protocols, you need to onboard to a centralized exchange. It takes 3 days to get funds there. Then you need to download a decentralized wallet. Then you need to create and save your seed phrase. Then you connect to the exchange, and there's tons of fraud. There's not great fraud warnings, and users are just getting rugged. And then you go to a block explorer, and the user experience is terrible. So we're trying to take that whole experience and make it super simple, and then have this social layer where people can discover new assets really easily.
How are you thinking about building the team, feel like there's a lot of pressure in crypto. Obviously, Jeff at Hyperliquid has kind of set the bar on scale to team size. But how are you guys thinking about it?
Yeah, so our team is about 10 right now, and this is by far our competitive advantage. Our team is incredible. All ex-builders of protocols like DYDX, Uniswap, OpenSea that paved the way for consumer crypto. And it's the missing piece of the puzzle here is most teams have been either really good at building trading infrastructure, which is a really hard problem, right? You need to have a router aggregator, potentially build your own routing. There's tons of MEV, which is people taking spread on user when they are trying to execute on chain. But then you also need people who can build an amazing user experience, right? And those two pieces matched is what's been missing so far. So I really believe this is the first accessible platform for digital assets on chain that has ever existed that's really accessible to the mass market. We launched 6 months ago. We've already onboarded 120,000 users. We have added many of those users to our platform recently. We're doing $20 to $40 million in volume a day. And currently Solana on-chain volume... Thanks. And currently, Solana on-chain volume is a $320 billion market, meaning we're doing 0.1% of that quarterly volume, and that's just Solana. Yeah. So our goal is to add all of the chains and dominate the whole on-chain spot trading market in the next 6 months.
That's fantastic.
Ambitious, love it. Let's give it up for the sun. Let's give it up for the sunset in the back too. Yeah, that thing is just absolutely.
How much did you raise?
Forming.
We raised $17 million.
There we go.
I was gonna say Vlad had a nice camera, but I got the nice sunset.
I mean, that's insane. That's insane. You're in New York?
Yeah, in Soho, New York.
Is that a real sunset or like virtual background?
That's a real sunset. It's actually really incredible right now.
It's just
real deal.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, congratulations. On the round, and I'm sure we'll have you back on soon.
Have a good one.
Awesome. Thanks.
Cheers.
Guys. Bye. How'd you sleep last night, Jordy? Back in your 8 sleep. You can go to 8sleep.com. Get a pod 5.
Code TBPN.
Warranty,
I put up. I'm just settled into the 80 low 80s.
Low 80s? Because I was in the high 80s. I got an 87. Play.
How many hours?
How many hours? For me, 6 hours, 44 minutes.
I got 7 hours, 11 minutes.
From Beacon is in the Restream waiting room.
I'm excited for this one.
Neelam, he's the ex-president of Instacart. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing?
What's happening? Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us.
So excited to be here. Big fan. Excited to chat with you guys.
Thanks so much.
Great to have you.
Get us up to speed. Give us an introduction on yourself and the company, please.
Yeah, we my co-founder Divya and I started the company a year and a half ago. What we are is an AI first holding company. We acquire, operate, and then we grow niche vertical market software businesses that serve underlooked at markets. We call them Main Street businesses. Mm-hmm. So think about campground operations, K-12 private schools, construction companies, things that usually don't have large IT departments. They're not the first place big tech goes to bring technology and innovation to. Divya was leaving Sequoia. I was leaving D1. We both were thinking about ways that AI was going to transform Main Street, and that's what got us together. And we felt like access to the best technologies usually doesn't diffuse evenly. And we thought the easiest way to get the best technology in the hands of end customers on Main Street is by partnering with entrepreneurs that already run these businesses, already have these relationships, and then turbocharge them with our team, tech, process, and having been there and done that in scaling businesses in the past. So that's a bit about what we're about.
Yeah,
very cool. Where can companies that you've acquired to date or plan to acquire get the most leverage out of AI so far? We had Vlad on from Robinhood earlier. He was talking about getting leverage at the CX in CX.
He was also talking about fly fishing.
Well, yeah, too. But getting leverage in CX, getting leverage in engineering. What are the other kind of buckets that you think AI efficiency is real today? Because we've been having this debate. ChatGPT is an amazing product, but at least in our day today, and I think many of our peers, it's not exactly like replacing a full-time hire at this point.
Yeah. I think Vlad definitely can use some of our products to find a spot to fly fish. We own 3 businesses and campgrounds, but
Oh,
other
no
than
way.
that, yeah, truly.
Okay, so yeah, like the perfect example, because I feel like some of these categories, just looking at the business and saying, how do we build software, not even AI, to make them more efficient? There's already efficiency that you could create, but yeah, where are they really getting an edge?
Let me give you that one. So let me give you the campground example since we're talking about it. We partnered with an entrepreneur who was building a business out in Saskatoon in Canada that served private campgrounds. There's 18,000 of them across North America. He built great software to allow campgrounds to take reservations and manage bookings, manage space allocation, all of that stuff. We bought the business. Mike runs it for us. We tend to work with our entrepreneurs, and they continue to stay with the business after we acquire it. And the first thing we worked on with him was, how can we apply AI to help him find new campgrounds? And this sounds like a very basic problem, but most of the businesses we buy do no outbound at the point that we buy them. So all of their sales happen through word of mouth and referrals. They tend not to have, what we know in Silicon Valley, the formal go-to-market motions. So we built some in-house tech to be able to first find Mike a list of 18,000 campgrounds, then score them, do some lead scoring, some multimodal communication, like when do you text them, when do you call them, when do you email them, when do you LinkedIn them? Many of them are not on LinkedIn. And within the first year of running that business, it's going to grow more than 80%. So that's an example of AI on the go-to-market side. The second thing we did with Mike is we were doing a product roadmap review, and one of the features he had built was a lot of his campgrounds actually had boat slips and marinas attached to them. So he built a feature so that you could actually, kind of reserve a spot in a marina within a campground operation. And I knew nothing about the space, but we started helping Mike. We put someone on the project with him to scope out and do calls with marina operators. So we found him a bunch of marina operators, figured out their tech needs. And then we gave him, all of our companies get Cognition instances. So we gave him and his development team Cognition. Our forward deploy engineers worked with him. And then we launched a brand new product called letsboat.com. So like a brand new product, we built the UI, Cognition and our developers built the product. And now we're live with that, which is kind of a net new company within our campground operations. And when I was building Instacart, that whole process probably would have taken us a year. We did it in like a month and a half. And I think, AI for code development is just table stakes now. So I don't think it's a competitive advantage, but the matching like customer needs, customers who are in Main Street that no one's talking to with tech, that's where I think Beacon's magic comes in.
Yeah, it's interesting that at least the edge today seems to be there's a bunch of businesses that you can now build software for that previously would have not been able to justify engineering hours that suddenly can. I mean, we experienced this. Tyler on our team builds a bunch of internal software that we use to run the show more efficiently. And if this was, I don't know, 10 years ago, we probably wouldn't have been able to justify it. But he can just be so productive because of that. What about some of the other categories? I'm curious. We've talked about Alpha School on the education side using AI in the curriculum. What are the ways in which you can get efficiency in education at kind of like a business level, or are you thinking more at the actual curriculum level?
It's probably more today at the business level. So we partnered. We have a number of software companies in the education space. I'll bring up one because I was talking to their customers earlier today. We work with a company called College Kickstart. It's based in California, and their customers are K-12 private schools. Specifically the college counselors in K-12 private schools. And they vacuum up a bunch of data and signals publicly available to be able to help college counselors in private schools work with parents, high anxiety parents and students through the matching process of, hey, where should my kid apply? Where should they apply early decision? How should they help present themselves to the kind of target schools, et cetera? And really at the heart of it, that's a data problem and it's a computation problem. So we partnered with College Kickstarter. It's one of our newest businesses. It's a situation where the general manager was retiring, so he's going to be transitioning out over the period of this year. We brought in a great general manager from Whatnot and Uber, and his name's Tom. He was previously at Teach for America. Tom's going to work with the old founder and the CEO to be able to build net new algorithms to help college counselors make better decisions for their students. And that's like, I have a 12-year-old daughter. The anxiety that goes around, where your kid's going to end up in college is like a really big deal, even for a 12-year-old, right? So something like that, I think AI can add a ton of value.
That makes sense. How much is traditional private equity pitching AI to their LPs, to your knowledge? 'Cause I imagine,
I think a ton. Yeah, honestly, I think a ton. And look, I think Divya and I very purposely designed Beacon as a holding company. So we buy our businesses not to sell them. We want to hold them forever. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First, there's like a financial benefit to duration and reinvesting the cash flows that come from these businesses, either within those businesses or in other businesses that we own. But the real benefit is, as we thought about the AI transformation, I don't think anyone really knows how long all this stuff's going to take. People have great ideas. I was listening, you had Brett on earlier. He has great ideas. There's tons of really smart people with great ideas. But my best guess is no one can handicap how long it's going to take for the full transformation to happen. So we want to have patience and we want to have duration to be able to keep improving our products and keep building net new stuff for our customers. I don't want to be held to having to sell these companies in 3 years or 5 years or 7 years, if that's like the moment that the magic's really going to start to kick in. Private equity can't make that promise to founders. So what they end up doing is, and not that there's anything wrong with this, their model tends to be buy a business already with a plan of how to exit it, with an underwrite that's based on a bunch of cost takeout, which they do in the first 18 months. Then they start dressing it up for sale in the second 18 months. And increasingly smart founders, the ones we work with, that's just not the model for them.
Yeah, that's a huge advantage for you guys. Well, super exciting, massive milestone, and you're officially our AI roll-up correspondent now. So expect a call as more of this stuff is in the news.
Yeah, what an amazing story. Thanks so much for coming on and break it down.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Great to meet.
Great. We'll talk to you
Cheers.
soon. Let me tell you about AdQuick.com. Out-of-home advertising made easy and measurable. Say goodbye to the headaches of out-of-home advertising. Only AdQuick combines technology, out-of-home expertise, and data to enable efficient, seamless ad buying across the globe. Elon Musk's pay package has been approved. Tesla shareholders approve Elon Musk's $1 trillion pay package. For reference, it received 75% of the vote. The $1 trillion stock award is tied to business goals. It nets Musk $878 billion, I guess. Board chair warned Musk could leave if pay was rejected. Many unions and some investors called the payout excessive. I'm sure there will be pushback on this, but if he does it, if he hits the milestones, you kind of got to give him some credit. And what better way to give him credit than with $1 trillion? He's at half a trillion, by the way. He's at half a trillion right now. He has 500 billion to his name. This would more than double it, but he's within spitting distance, even without this.
Yeah, this also allows him to have, I think, 20% of the voting power at 25% of the voting power at Tesla, which is something he's talked about publicly around, building this robot army and wanting to make sure that he can't be, terminated for political reasons or other reasons if he's going to go
look at this. Look at the way this package rolls out. So the operational milestones are more interesting than the market value milestones, in my opinion. We all know the goals to get to 10 trillion in market cap, which is unprecedented. But at the same time, NVIDIA's halfway there already. So if you can just build a company that's 2 NVIDIAs, you're good to go. But the operational milestones are interesting because they tell more of a story, in my opinion. The first is 20 million vehicles delivered, then 10 million Oh, the website just updated. Here we go. 10 million active full self-driving subscriptions. Then 1 million robot deliveries, 1 million robo-taxis in operation. And then you get to the EBITDA, and you want, at the end of this, 400 billion in adjusted EBITDA to really get up there in those tranches. So you can't just pump the stock. Now, the stock is pumping. It's at the highest level of price to equity since 2018. So Tesla shares are at $447 each, which is 230 times earnings per share. And the analysts see the automaker reporting over the next 12 months. So it is at a high price to earnings ratio. The S&P 500, for comparison, is trading at 23 times expected earnings. NVIDIA, at the center of the AI revolution, is valued at 32 times earnings, while Microsoft has a PE of 30, and Meta Platforms is lagging at just 21. Tesla, on the other hand, 10 times the price to earnings ratio.
Absolutely wild.
Well, one reason why it might be so highly valued is because Tesla shareholders are optimistic about Optimus, the humanoid robot. Elon Musk called Optimus an infinite money loop. You love that.
On the call just now?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
He said he predicted other uses for the Optimus robot, but Musk declared Optimus is an infinite money loop. In the future, there may not be any money, he mused. Don't sell your shares, he added. I guess what I'm saying is hang on to your Tesla stock. I love it. Let's go.
Not financial advice.
We have to hit the gong for Elon Musk.
Let's hit it.
Let's hit it.
Sorry to Alex from Metropolis. He thought he had the biggest number of today's show, but
Elon came in from the top
over
rope.
the top.
Also, Elon, you got $1 trillion. You got half a trillion already. Head over to getbezel.com. Buy every single watch they have on sale. They have 25,000 luxury watches, fully authenticated in-house by Bezel's team of experts. Elon, you could buy all 25,000 today.
26,000.
All 26,000 today. You could also book every single Wander forever, Elon. So why don't you do that as well? Head over to wander.com. Find your happy place. Find all of the places and that will make you happy. Imagine just having a network of every Wander permanently reserved for you wherever you go.
Land.
Land.
Go long land. We're going long
book a
land.
Wander with inspiring reviews, hotel grade amenities, dreamy beds, top tier cleaning, 24/7 concierge.
And
it's a vacation home, but better.
On that note,
yes,
we got to get on with London.
We do.
So thank you for tuning in to the show today. And we will be back tomorrow. We have a number of very cool guests. We have Mikey from Suno is going to be coming on. We've got Colin and Samir. We have Catherine Boyle from Andreessen joining as well. So I cannot wait.
Yes.
And we hope you have a wonderful evening.
Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye.